Red is on.
And good evening and welcome to Thursday, December 20th, 2018 Selectmen's meeting. All rise and say pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's see, we've got some minutes. Let me start with the review and improvements of 12/13.
I got a comment, not a question, where we discussed the Plesner's donation. Do we anywhere on the town website do a list like each year of who's contributed to different parts of the town?
We do the town, in the town.
It's in the town report.
But we don't have it on the website?
No, you
But
don't.
how hard is it to
I've seen it.
add a page,
Might be
you know, on the
nice.
website?
Yeah.
More people are gonna go to that first probably.
What would you like on there for the information?
Well, it's like,
You could.
Name and amount.
well, what you'd have to do is separate, because like, or list who, because the parks get some, senior center gets some, they sometimes go to specific, so maybe just a donations page, name, amount, donation to, you know.
Some people want to remain.
And, well, you just put it, you can put in the dollar amount, just put anonymous.
Right.
But you can
Because that
also,
way you can show what's coming in.
Have a link where they could then go
Just a
to donate.
suggestion.
you could also add on there that the town is a,
501c3.
Nonprofit.
I know.
and then the process one would go through to donate. Rick Joseph.
On page 2, bottom of the page, the DOT 10-year plan. Am I correct of the thing that sort of slipped past us, that we're first on the list of the DOT 10-year plan in the year 2029, 2030? If you look at that paperwork.
I'm with you, what changed?
No, they just put us in at the very tail end, but we're top for that year. So we're still 10 years
We're
out.
still in the 10-year plan?
Just with these 3 projects they submitted,
Oh,
it's not like it's gonna be done in the next
I
5
thought you were
years.
referring to the Silver Lake.
That isn't part of the 10-year plan.
No?
Those monies come out of a separate fund. That was a safety
Yeah.
issue.
Right.
That's why
So
it
what
was being.
changed up there?
Well, it wasn't in the 10-year plan. It was in a different program, a safety issue. That's why it wasn't waiting 10 years. The 10-year plan, you know, the TAC committee meets and all the representatives talk about which plans have priority and this and that. That Silver Lake Road project was different. they put it into a separate category. That's why it was being expedited
It must have
until it was dropped.
The DOT has gotten a dig safe from the water department, the water district down in Lockmere, with an eyeballs of doing it next spring/summer.
Doing what?
Do we want to
So-
amend
Silver
the
Lake
minutes
Road
with
is-
this?
The water company?
Do we want to amend the minutes with this? 'Cause
We
we're
should probably have a
calculating-
different discussion about this.
It went off to a different place.
Yeah, if we can
Yeah.
keep, so Kevin can get out of here too.
So Peter, you want me to check with Dolly and
Use-
put that language in there,
Okay.
if that's the case?
Usually.
For that
Well, it
year?
would be, to make it accurate.
Okay.
Page 3 or 4. 96 East Main, you can put in that I still say that that is in the groundwater protection district, and it does sit on both sides of the road. Because my road's in it, Hill Road's in it. Those all roads.
On page 3, site visit to discuss removal of debris from the dam to Old Ernie site, is that the only place you're going to discuss removal of debris? I thought it was the river.
Bank.
From the dam to Ernie's, basically. We're
Okay.
gonna walk the edge of the river.
Okay.
So
So
from
it says
there
from
is
the
a-
dam to
There is
Ernie.
a partial
Riverfront
dam there,
Park
which is why I
Dam.
asked that.
Joe?
Okay. Just
From
clarification
Riverfront Park
for
Dam
me.
back up.
Yes.
Over 13.
Of Gale and, or Riverfront Park Dam.
Thank you.
All the way back to the
Appreciate
site
that
of
little
former
bit there.
Ernie's property. It's just a step on the ladder, you know? So, now I make a motion to accept the minutes of December 13th, 2018 as corrected as amended.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to accept the minutes of Thursday, December 13, 2018. As amended, corrected, and amended.
Discussion, right?
More discussion.
Okay, good, because there was one thing I forgot on the first page. 2019 administrative budget, less lethal weapon system, there's money in the budget, therefore no need to raise and appropriate the funds. It should say next year, because
Right.
whatever funds we're using in the general fund were raised and appropriated.
Mm-hmm.
Good catch.
Okay with that in your motion?
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
amended, as corrected, yes.
Okay.
You betcha.
Okay, so we have a motion. And all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
I'll abstain, as I was on it.
Abstention? Excellent. Take a look at the minutes of the non-public session. If we're gonna, these are the ones that we asked for a little bit more detail and clean them up. make them look good. Since they are non-public, we can discuss accepting or not accepting them in public, but if we want to go into any of the details, we should go into non-public to discuss
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Is that true, or is that true? Yeah. If they want to get into
These are the ones that we're releasing.
Yes.
Yes.
potentially.
You can look them at.
on the minutes of 9/13, members present, you list 4, but then you have Selectman Jessamine voting on the roll call vote. I was appointed the week prior, I do believe, to the seat, so I was actually present as a member.
Maybe that was just.
Only difference I see in that one, and the other 2 I was not
Right, okay.
So add you 2 members present.
on 9/13.
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Gail? August 2 and 9/13, can you add the property address like the first one? If I don't hit the first one first, I see property,
Oh, yes.
and I have no idea where.
Well,
That's a deep subject.
discussion, no doubt, well, in most places. I would like to make motion to unseal the minutes of 7/26/18, August 2nd, 2018, and 9/13/18. And that's it, I guess. I want to make a motion to unseal those 3 sets of minutes. Second.
Have a motion and a second to unseal the minutes, so 7/26/18, August 2nd, 2018, and 9/13/18, 14 September. Discussion.
I was wondering how we go about actually getting these disseminated to the residents. They're now done. Do we read them into the record? Do we put them into the minutes for today? Do we post them on the website? What do we actually do to get these to people?
They get posted on the websites under our minutes,
Yep,
so it just shows the minutes.
there we go. All right. Okay.
And then the hard copy would go behind the minutes from
Sure.
that
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, that part I know. I just want to make sure that you don't have to
They
come
should-
in here and look through a file in order to find
No,
out what we're
no.
talking
So,
about.
and they
Anybody
should-
else have any other discussion?
Well, they should be able to follow the trail to get them to the final sale amount, right?
It's in here, I think.
Would anyone like to state for the record, for the public, why you're unsealing them? Because the matter's been resolved, because,
This is concerning the Sealite property on Business Park Drive. I want to say 59 Business Park Drive, but it's right in that neighborhood, right?
60.
Right next door.
61.
61.
So
Is that part of the motion?
Yeah,
No?
that
No, it's
it's
just
regarding the
public.
sale of that piece of property to Sealite.
Adjacent to 61.
That's correct, contiguous.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, as corrected. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. See, but there's 4 of us anyway. Well, that's good.
That is good.
That is great start, I like it.
For the few times I've ever had the pleasure of being involved in that.
First time since my tenure.
Oh, I remember, you were adamant about unsealing minutes for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah.
That's right.
And I wasn't a selectman.
Okay, so,
It was nice you were making
we have Kevin. You're up, 15 minutes early. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
A little early.
Are we supposed to, formally, are we supposed to wait until, I mean, what's the
No, it's not a hearing.
protocol on that?
It's not a hearing, so we don't have to wait until 5:15.
If someone comes in at
We post an
5:50
agenda,
with
it's a
questions, I'd let them.
courtesy.
Oh,
Oh,
God, yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
I just didn't know if.
It's not like planning or zoning.
Okay.
It's a courtesy.
Okay. So, what's happening?
No snow in the forecast.
No snow. Yes. Oh, no, it's all good.
Go wash it off.
It's been a pretty slow week weather-wise, which is nice. We just had a little bit to deal with Monday morning, early first thing. A couple of things that we were able to catch up on this week is the changed some plow blades that were getting worn to the change point.
You need to speak up, I
You
can't
can't hear?
really hear you.
Okay, I'll try to talk louder.
Okay.
We actually did some research, and we went with a blade that's called a saber blade, and it has extra carbide incorporated in the blade itself. And the idea behind that is to increase longevity of the plow blade. On the two vehicles that we changed it out on, we were going through 2 sets each vehicle per season. These plow blades will last us 3 years each truck. So it was pretty.
In theory.
No, it's been solidified, yeah, because our foreman has used them in the adjacent town.
He has
In his
experience.
experience.
Nice.
Which he's the one that turned me on to them. So I did some research, and sure enough, and yeah, they get 3 years out of them, so, sure.
How much more expensive are the 3-year blades
They
than
were-
the half-year blades?
It was $100 more. It was pretty crazy. Why wouldn't I do
It's
that?
more work, put them on.
Yeah.
You saved it 3 times?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So,
So are the
Not to
carbide
mention-
chipped, or is it in
the
the whole cut?
entire face of the blade is carbide, 1/2-inch carbide. There's also carbide impregnated in the edge as well. So it's got a double carbide surface that's mating to the ground, which adds life to the, so. And the other plus is that it adds weight to our plow blades, which allows us to scrape more effectively. Yeah, the road's quicker.
Potentially dig up the roots more.
No, that's only in before for us.
The surface, the contact surface is wider, so it has more of like a ski effect
Mhm.
on the surface, so it won't cut into. Once it wears down to a mating surface, it will stay that way and it won't damage the roads. It's pretty
Okay.
solid stuff.
Question for you. 30 years ago, Maine Turnpike, they ran belly scrapers on their 6-wheelers, the big ones,
The big ones, yeah.
for
Well-
icing, and I don't know if that's something to look at for maybe the Peterbilt or...
The 6-wheelers, I actually have the blades that I got were for the 2 550s.
Yeah, okay.
The bigger trucks, they have what's called a flexible blade, and they're 12-inch sections of like, they're like a poly base, so they flex, and when you have to replace a section, it's only 12 inches at a time, so you can just replace the worn out section and leave the rest. But those have more contact surface with the road for a more effective clearing. And because they flex, they don't wear out as fast. It's crazy how they work. The state is getting almost 3 years out of a set of the flexible blades. They are a little pricey, and I was waiting till the time, because we just replaced ours last year, and they're good until next year, so at that time we'll price them out and get them changed out as well. We did do a repair on one of our sanders. The chain was getting weak, and to avoid a breakdown mid-storm, we went ahead and changed it. It's one of the most utilized trucks in our fleet. One thing that I'm very excited for is that we constructed an apparatus to go on the back of the sidewalk machine to spread a brine on our sidewalks. And all it took was a 55-gallon barrel and $60 of PVC pipe. We have, underneath the salt shed, is a 1,200-gallon catch basin that has a concentration of 30% saline already there, already waiting. And for a brine application, they only recommend 28%, 26%, 28%. And we've already got it sitting there at 30%. So why not utilize it? So I'm actually excited to use it the next storm. The idea is that we'll pre-treat with that. It'll stop the ice from building up on the sidewalks, which will make clearing it faster. we won't have ice packs that we'd have to over-treat with rock salt, with the salt, which will decrease our usage because we have a lot of overcast of salt trying to burn through the ice to get our sidewalks clear. So I'm excited to use that this next storm. Our brine will will treat up to 3 inches of snow before it'll actually start to bridge over and collect. So in theory, it will buy us some time to actually go out and have to plow the sidewalks as well. And the less time the blade is touching the ground pushing, less wear and tear on the machine, and the blade, the entire picture is just streamlined, and we're being more efficient, money-wise and time-wise. So that was a big thing to
How
happen
is
this
it
week.
dispersed? Do you run like
It's
a
gravity fed.
gravity fed?
Yeah, it's a 55-gallon barrel with a 1-inch PVC pipe with the adapter that seals to the bottom of the barrel. Has a ball valve so we can regulate how much gets distributed at once. And the PVC pipe is the width of the sidewalk with a 16-inch hole drilled every 1 inch. So it just gravity feeds right down on, it doesn't spread, it just gravity feeds right on top. So it's more of an isolated application. It's a concentration, it works very well.
How wide?
Picture?
It's about 4 feet, 47.
Picture on the phone?
I have a picture on my phone, yeah. Would you like to see a picture?
Yeah.
Because we were able to treat the, parking lot prior to a 1-inch snowstorm.
The public works parking lot?
Yes.
Okay.
And this was the result, which I'm actually very excited for. If you want to pass that around.
So that's where
No collection of snow on the spots that were treated.
That's where you treated?
That's what we treated.
That's very cool.
So,
Yeah, you say that 26%, 28%
yes,
is what you're supposed to use, but we're doing 30%. Is there a downside
there
to?
is not a downside.
The downside would be is you're wasting the salt, but since it's already there.
It's already
you
there.
can't- Unless you want to
Yeah.
play scientist.
Why do
and
we
try to
have that underneath there?
It's regulated, we have to have it.
EPA.
It's just a leftover,
It's the residue.
it's the residue from the salt.
Salt.
So we're recycling the residue
Yes.
from the salt.
Well, the question is, what's happened prior to now?
It was.
Brilliant.
I don't want to say.
Probably
That's,
evaporated every
Huh?
time.
No.
The salt stays in the bottom of the container, even if the water evaporates.
That's right.
So that's a great,
So, yeah, the 2.5 years I've been here, I have not seen anything done with that.
Brilliant.
So,
I like it.
and we also, in the case that we run out of that supply, we built an apparatus to actually manufacture our own with 2 barrels and some plumbing. It kind of works like a water filtration system. Water goes in the bottom, pushes up through the top, and what comes out is actually 26% concentration. And the reason why I'm firm on these numbers is because we had it tested. One of our employees' mother works for a pet shop and has a saline tester for saltwater fish tanks. So we sent the samples with him, we got them tested, and we got the confirmation. There is another side to this, and that's salt only works down to about 17 degrees. Then it's useless. We could buy liquid calcium in a 55-gallon barrel and do a percentage with our brine and bring that freeze point from 17 down to -20. So we have options with that brine. It's not like we're limited to just that window of temperature.
What does that product do to the environment? It's
No.
not just salt,
It's not. just salt, but it's used in
But
pre-treating.
salt is bad for the environment, so I'm just
Yes.
curious if there's.
Everything that I've read on the liquid calcium, because it's used up north and out west in Michigan, places like that, they use it faithfully, and they've had no negative impact on the environment.
How pricey is it?
It's $200 for a 55-gallon barrel, and a 55-gallon barrel would probably last me an entire season if I had to use it. It's temperature and weather dictates when I use it.
When
So if we
you're
have,
mixing it in a mixture with the brine?
yes. So it's just a percentage. So that 55-gallon barrel, 55 gallons could last me.
Would you like to test that on Maple Court? I mean, it's a dead-end street and everything, you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Joe, calcium chloride, you spray on gravel roads for dust suppression. So anytime you go on a gravel road that looks wet, even though it's been dry for weeks, they spray with
They don't
calcium
use
chloride.
just raw water anymore?
You can
No,
get a couple.
the water evaporates in an hour.
Because it
Oh, no,
it
that's not, I have to
evaporates.
anyway.
The
just have it
calcium
on
will do.
record.
No, it
Um,
bonds the gravel together.
Yeah.
It's a chemical bond.
So, and the other things that I've been working on is getting together the RFP for the road work this year. Cedar Street, Highland Ave, and Linden Ave. Linden Ave was supposed to be done last year, and somebody dropped the ball on it. So I'm gonna try to get that done this year, along with Highland and Cedar, because we're gonna be right there anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Is Linden the one we did the drainage work on?
Yes.
Well,
Sure.
we did the
That
swale.
Yeah.
took out the sidewalk, the old
We took out
sidewalk.
the old sidewalk on them.
Yes, before Scott Davis.
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Again, Cedar Street is gonna take a joint effort between us, the sewer department, and the water department, because I don't wanna have fresh pavement put down and then have them have a failure, and then have to dig it up.
We talking about Winter Street, Cedar Street?
Cedar.
Cedar Street is horrible.
We've already
Yeah,
had it.
yeah, I know.
And I
I'm sure.
believe the sewer
So-
commission is planning on putting a manhole
I see.
in the street.
So it's about coordinating
That would be
everything
the
at
time
once.
I would have them come in and mill it,
Perfect, yeah.
do what they have to do for work.
Mhm.
It's cheaper for
Replace
them to
pipes,
do.
put in
What
drainage,
you
the
need
whole
to-
deal.
You need to do is give them as much
Notice as
leeway,
possible.
because
Absolutely.
you may not, they may
I've
say,
been-
we're not ready to have money to do it this coming.
I've had conversations with John in the water
Okay.
department, he knows it's coming,
Sweet.
and Joanna, same thing, so, so we're pushing forward
So
with
everybody's
that,
on board, okay.
very much so.
The way to
Did you
work
hear
it,
that before, Catherine?
it's cheaper for everybody.
Okay.
Not right now. Maybe after this time.
Okay.
So on those, what's the scope of work?
On those,
Yeah. What are you doing on London?
Linden would be just a mill and then resurface, I'd imagine. 'cause
I
it's-
would if you don't want to mill, you want to reclaim.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Wrong use of term.
Okay.
The term. Yes, reclaim.
Yeah, okay.
Have them reshape it,
Mhm. Yeah.
drainage if we have to, and, did you say Highland or Linden?
Linden.
Linden
Linden,
first,
yeah.
just because I knew there's areas where the pavement's
Yes.
2 inches difference.
Highland, I think we have some drainage issues we have to address.
And are you gonna address the ones on Cedar too, where the
Yes.
water comes down?
Yeah, it's Highland that has the issues, not London. London, I thought London was fairly good.
Highland is the one that comes
Linden,
out from the
I mean,
water.
pretty
Linden
chopped
actually
up.
needs some drainage done because up top,
Yeah.
there's no culverts there, and the water comes down and right across that person's driveway and right into the street, and that's one of our ice spots that we're constantly maintaining in the wintertime. That should have some under drain there and transferring the water somewhere else, so. Again, there's a lot of ice spots that we're chasing because of drainage issues. Unfortunately, a lot of that is on state roads that we'll have to try to get some cooperation with the state in getting that addressed.
If on any of your projects there's that excess reclaim, make sure you get it, not the contractor.
Yeah. I've already
Can we have a
thought
place on our website where these projects are posted? So that residents.
After the donation page.
that.
No, I'm thinking,
No, that would be
when we're
great.
talking about the driveway, so, maybe the resident would want to fix something on their I mean, aren't they responsible for the culvert? the end of their driveway? I don't remember what it says in the driveway application, but I think they are.
They are.
If there isn't a town installed one now,
Yes.
and a new one's going in, I think their property owner's responsible.
It's not determined where it's installed, whether it's town property versus private. Can a private person install stuff on town property?
Well,
In the right of way?
not all of our roads have deeded right-of-ways. Some of them are just prescriptive. But I'm just saying, it would help a homeowner to
It would
know
help.
that this project is coming up, and oh, by the way, could you, would you, and maybe I would do this.
And what's kind of sad is that homeowner actually should have had a culvert installed, and they just had they just had their driveway resurfaced and didn't have that done. So
I certainly
we have
would
some.
have, knowing that the end of my driveway was all ice.
Yes.
So-
We actually had to redo how we plow that road because he asked us not to turn around in the driveway anymore. So we just adjusted how we plowed it, because he just had it resurfaced. He didn't want us tearing it up. The other thing that we did this week was we got our first delivery of road signs, and we were able to install 16 signs. They are expensive, so I've tried to break it up for a little bit of time. I just placed the last order, I believe it was 24 signs. Once I receive those, the entire town will be up to date with the reflective 6-inch sign.
When did you order those signs? The last ones?
The last ones was about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Have you paid for them yet?
I'm not sure. I handed in the bill. It was.
But you ordered them, so we're obligated to pay for them.
Yes,
Is Tim aware of that order?
yes.
Okay.
I believe it was $900.
As long as Tim's aware of it.
Yeah, as
Yes.
long as it's dated and everything, you ordered for someone else.
There must be an obligation. It sounds like you've ordered it, it is.
Question. So Catherine, you mentioned posting the projects on the website so that the homeowner would be aware of the project, and for what purpose? In case they wanted to make any upgrades? Is that what you're saying? So would you,
Or be aware of, so I wouldn't want to plan a family barbecue
So
the day that I knew that the road was going to be all torn up
You'll never know that.
and
Would
whatnot.
you
I mean,
have
it's
a
just-
barbecue, would you go to the town website to check the schedule?
If I knew it was there, I would.
so,
And that's just one
And you
example.
probably
There's
would.
more to this question.
The paving guys aren't as good as the concrete.
Can we finish this up?
yeah, so I was just saying, if it's truly the intent of the select board to have this be a courtesy to the homeowners that we're doing work, would we not want to maybe consider sending a letter
That
to
would be
each
better.
homeowner? And then we would
Card,
know,
Postcard or whatever.
a postcard, that's a great idea.
I think so, but I think also if it was on the website. So we've gotten credit, the board of selectmen has gotten criticism in the past for not going forward with projects. We raised and appropriate monies for sidewalks. Now we do the sidewalks. Well, thank God a few years ago, we finally put it in the reserve fund, so now when we raise and appropriate, it goes in the reserve fund and we don't spend it on whatever else. But it would be nice, because I'm anticipating these projects are gonna get done next year. We're planning on doing them, for residents to see that this is what we're planning to do. It's getting done, it's moving forward, and we're progressing, and not regressing. So there are a lot of reasons for me why we should make it public. And it's transparency. Why wouldn't we let people know?
Just
Well, the other thing is
information
that
to allow people to know that this thing's going on.
Right.
We're doing the work.
the other thing is Cedar Street is an amazingly busy street. So you want not just a postcard to the residents in the area knowing that there's going to be work being done on that. That is a well-traveled bypass from Winter to Cedar into the village. You want the word to get out that there is a project going on from Cedar to Highland to Linden.
It's gonna-
All of those are
And it's going to be an extensive project.
It is
It's not just going to be a
extensive.
2-day deal. It's-
right, and so you want that word to get out into the public. Any way we can get it done. Postcard in addition to website. I totally agree with what Catherine is saying.
Yeah.
We need to get that
And
out.
the echo, your press release, and
even utilizing the sign.
Well, we have a sign,
The
too.
mechanic sign.
Just because we've got a lot of stuff going on, I don't want to get too much detail about what we're going to do
Yeah.
next summer.
I like
So we
But,
just gotta-
yeah, so, but then
I just wanted to let you know that I was working on that.
Variable message board. It's part most of the time.
Yep. In fact, we're storing it undercover now, so.
But that'll go up like a week before, that thing. It depends on the contractor.
The only other thing we've had going on this week is we took advantage of our slow time and we did some maintenance on the buildings. We changed some light bulbs that needed to be changed, cleaned some light fixtures, things like that. Addressed some issues.
LED, I hope.
Yes. Yep. As we work on the light system, we are changing over to LEDs. It just makes sense. Just a little tidbit I wanted to share with you that, real quick. I asked Tim for a report on our electric bill for the last 4 months. And we've actually shaved $100 off each month for the last 4 months. Just by some, you know, the big overhead lights in the shop? I don't need all of that to work. So I shut down half a bank. Half the building was shut down. And when everybody has a standing rule that when you leave the building, all the lights are shut off. And just incorporating that small change,
Very nice.
we've been able to save about $100 a month on that. So
on the same thing, I think we're working
on with
some
other
prices,
sure.
because those lights are very,
they are very costly. And just having the guys be more aware of the leaves, their wise lights.
Didn't we say somebody was gonna come in?
He's coming tomorrow.
Got it. Okay.
because I know, like, for instance, Laconia in their gymnasium, you walk in there and instantly the LED lights can turn on. You know, not the warming up things,
Yeah.
and they turn off after days, that's no activity for.
I was just doing it for, just for recon, basically,
Right,
just
too.
to see how much those lights were actually costing us, and that, it was huge to see the difference, so.
The other thing, you know, just to look at, is there a possibility of putting some skylights in there to allow some,
Oh, absolutely,
You know.
anything's possible, sure.
And that's so,
Oh, no, we already discussed that, it's coming.
Why not a wood furnace?
Oh,
oil burner,
that actually,
used oil burner?
I wanted to, yes, exactly.
recycled oil.
Yes, we're generating about 150 to 200 gallons a year now, and if we can utilize that to offset our gas bill, I'm all for it. Because then we could actually start taking in used oil from our residents to give them an outlet for that, because we have a lot of residents that are asking, but we don't take it. So, just,
To heat your building, you mean?
yes, to offset the gas bill.
What testing requirements of the oil, since it's very easy to put antifreeze in with it?
It is very easy.
You know, that's the only thing when you start taking from outside.
Yeah.
What's in it?
Separate, the
They
separators,
Yeah,
most
they
of them
have-
come with a tank that has a separator in it, and
I have locked,
big square tank.
I found a company that takes our waste antifreeze as well. So we didn't have that before. I don't want to tell you what was done with it in the past.
No, you don't.
I
No,
think
we
it's
don't.
best I move on.
Exactly.
We got a lot to discuss now, let's move on that
Well,
one.
that's great.
So things are moving forward.
Now, go ahead.
Did I miss sidewalks for the coming season?
Winter Street sidewalk is going to be done. I did not mention it,
Okay.
but that is on the plan.
Not
Are we gonna do
Main?
that?
Yeah, we hadn't planned on doing Winter Street until
No.
the state fixed
It's
the
still, yeah,
Drainage, right?
If you got
drainage.
Main Street sidewalk.
So
either
right
Main
thing to do
Street
with-
or West Main to the high school, but
Right.
either one of those are gonna be bears because of your traffic.
I did notice that I'd like to make them raised with a curb, not just a painted sidewalk.
Make them safer?
Yeah, that'd be a good thing.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, I'm not sure what kind of collaboration we need to do with the state in order to get that done. That's a lot of research that I have to do.
Where, yeah?
Along Route 3.
Oh,
If you're not gonna ask them to participate at all, they probably will be delighted,
Yeah.
because they like
Yeah.
they like curb sidewalks.
Yeah. No, I'm all for having them help us. Kill them
The
with
other
kindness,
thing
and
is
hopefully we can get
One
something
side or
done.
the other of Main Street.
Okay, do we have
Do
a
something.
non-public?
Yes, we do,
Yes,
but
we do.
before you go into that, I just want to be clear, you asked the question, what about sidewalks? Kevin said Winter Street, and did I hear you all correctly that you don't want Winter Street done?
Not before the state does.
Okay.
They will. It-
So,
That was
The
my first,
drainage, Jeannie, comes
No,
under that
yeah, I
sidewalk.
just wanted
that was my
to,
Oh,
first
you-
choice
you
because
were
of
there
the
with
condition
us.
of the sidewalk.
I'm more
You
for
know
this
But it would
side.
be great if you wanted to pursue that with the state, saying,
Oh, yeah.
every year we lose more and more.
They want
of
us to
that
do
bank."
it, so maybe that push
Sure,
to get the road,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then we'll do the sidewalk,
Okay.
because it needs to be done.
So, what sidewalks in 2019? Should we
To
clarify
be
that?
determined.
Should we determine?
I think he's looking between Main and West Main right now.
Okay.
Talk with the state to see what we can do. See if
We
it's
had
not-
talked, we really had planned to do Main Street, and a lot of people are counting on that.
On the other side, you mean?
This side, to finish Main Street, because we've done this portion
Mhm.
to continue down.
You mean in front of Polly's and all?
Yes.
Right. But
Joe?
with that in mind, you'll come back to us with a
But
plan.
I take a look at the condition of the sidewalk in front of Polly's, and I look at the condition of the sidewalk on Winter Street. I'm gonna go with Winter Street just because it's falling apart and crumbling.
Well, except we don't do it because the state's erosion is gonna,
I
whatever we
understand
do.
that.
Okay,
So West
we're gonna
Main
be
Street
solving
to the
it.
high
We have a
school.
lot of kids walking on these
Right.
sidewalks to get to school, so
West Main Street would probably have.
unless I'm told differently, I'm gonna concentrate on those for safety.
So in January, you come back
But
with
you have a
a
lot of
better
people
idea.
downtown
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Joe, you had a question?
I have a couple of questions. Number one is with regard to the town car. The town car has issues, I don't know whether it's the ball joints or whatever, and it needs help. The car needs help. We were talking about retiring the car. I was wondering if you had looked at the car,
I did
whether
look at
it's
it.
good for the details, whether it's still good for the town
It's
car,
still very
because
good for the town.
hardly anybody uses it.
Yeah, and that's 90% of its downfall. No one uses it enough. Okay, but for that car there, it only costs us $394 to maintain in a 2-year period. Oil changes and labor, state inspections, the light bulbs, whatever I've changed in the last 2 years for a state inspection. Is it due for an overhaul? Possibly. But I also looked at the cost of ball joints, tie rod ends, shocks, serpentine belt, the basic wear and tear items. And for less than $700, that car can be rebuilt for another 3 or 4 years.
For whatever
The
purpose.
transmission issues, it just needs to, it just needed a transmission service, which I did today.
Nice.
It had a lag
Mhm.
because the oil was dirty.
Yeah.
Changed the filter in the oil, and we're good. So.
do you
It's
have that?
interesting,
these
though,
are
wasn't
very-
it?
These are very
Can I assume-
fixable issues, and this car
Okay.
is solid. My biggest concern with these vehicles is rust,
Okay.
which we've started a very strict rust rust preventative regimen with the fluid film and the oiling, not just once a year, but throughout the winter. Every time it's in for a service, we treat it.
So in your opinion, that car is safe to use?
Yes, yes.
You're not gonna break down, the tire's not gonna fall off?
Well, the breakdown that's,
Well, I mean, any car
At
can
the
break
gone.
down, but any car can break
As
down.
far
But
as safe-
this one isn't
that car is safe.
jeopardy of a wheel falling off, or the
Mechanically
steering wheel
sound
coming
to
off.
drive.
Mechanically sound to drive. It has
Okay.
a state inspection sticker. A lot of rides on my state inspection license.
Yeah, he's not.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna sticker it if it's not safe.
Okay, so we can decide what we want to
We
do
can
with the
discuss
town
that
car
later.
another day. When did you remove the snow from downtown after the last storm when we had accumulation? I noticed there was a pile up here and there was a pile out front, and there were piles that customarily, is it 72 hours?
72 hours after a 12-inch storm.
And so it was less than 12 inches, so when did it get moved?
We didn't move it.
We didn't move, we haven't had a 12-inch storm.
So we just
Mother
leave the
Nature
piles
under-
of snow otherwise? Okay.
As far as out front here, I've seen Guidell with his wheelbarrow and shovel moving snow. I mean, I don't.
I'm not
No.
saying that it's not. I just noticed
Mother
that there
Nature.
was snow accumulated,
Yeah.
and even though it wasn't 12 inches, there was a car-sized pile up there, you know? Takes up parking spaces, I was
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
that answers my question.
Okay.
Anything else for public? Maybe for non-public?
Yes. Please.
Motion to
Oh,
go.
I have one thing.
Okay,
I was,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was looking through my list.
Okay.
So,
List.
well, you only get one line of it. Upstairs, with these windows, there is a significant heat loss.
Upstairs here.
Upstairs here.
Okay.
Just stand by one. Tuesday would have been a perfect example.
Okay, so we need to look at the windows.
I noticed it because when I walked through here, my hair actually blew in the breeze. The double set of doors to outside at the foot of the stairs,
Yes.
you look at the bottom of that, and you can see daylight.
Okay.
So we have huge heat loss. In the summer, we can't open, but that one opens with two people, that'll open, and that one opens. If we could open these windows, there would be a lot more ventilation and less reliance on air conditioning, especially on a day when there's a breeze. But because regular people can't open and close the windows easily, that's a problem. Are those two issues something Public Works could deal with during this winter? We could
Yes,
have
absolutely.
time, or is that something we would just subcontract?
No, actually, I'd like to address those. Between Peter and myself, we could definitely get that tackled.
Does the board object to having Public Works?
I do not object to have Public Works look at it, but I do object to the fact that you think you're going to have open windows during the summer and not air conditioning. I do
No,
object
that's
to
not
that.
what I'm saying. It's
Okay.
like.
She's
I
talking
think
Just
it's
for
where-
clarification
No,
Oh,
purposes,
no, not when
Catherine
it's,
Dawson.
no, not when it's 90 degrees
She
or.
just wants them to be operated easily.
I know
In the
you.
springtime. No, I'm
So
sorry.
You can
I
take a
could've
look
worded
at
that better.
weatherization and
Positions, the lifting mechanisms in the windows
Yeah.
might be bad.
Right.
they get dirty.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know one of them,
We
this
should
one up
have
here,
lift system there.
you get it up about 6 inches and then you have to hold it
so
and wait for it
so
to
that's a
strong.
yes, right?
I'll add it to
We
my
got that
list.
covered. Let's go into non-public.
Thank you.
Sorry, Kath.
No, no,
I'm just
you're
trying
good.
to keep things moving because.
You were
go,
good, you
John.
keep going.
Okay.
You're not gonna have an objection from me.
So I'm going to say, is that a C,
It's
A?
Look on your
Personnel.
agenda, look on your agenda.
personnel.
You guys are
So
so
we're
great.
hard
Set this
personnel.
all for me, but I put my agenda in the pile of stuff here.
That's okay.
So we're going to make a
Jay,
motion that
it's
we
a-
go into non-public
Agenda.
for RSA 91A:3, paragraph 2A. The dismissal, promotion, compensation of any public employee or the discipline of such employee or the investigation of charges against him unless the employee affected, one, has the right to a meeting, and two, requests it may be open, in which case the request shall be granted. Okay, we have a roll call vote for that.
Have a second?
Can I get a second?
Second,
Roll call vote.
Constantino,
Start with
yes.
Constantino, Dawson.
Dozen yes?
Bog, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
We'll be back. And we're back. We are red, and red is on.
It'll only take a second.
Make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public as retained for personnel permanently.
Okay.
Yes.
The motion in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yes. Aye.
Opposed?
May I
So
ask
moved.
continue with my question on the wage?
No, go back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So am I understanding you that where is, if we have both the Public Works Director wage and the mechanic wage, is the mechanic wage in the crew line, or is it in the Public Works? Did you?
That's correct.
Okay,
The budgeted wage is in the crew's wages.
okay,
However, the compensation that the Public Works Director has been receiving, the base amount is charged to
okay,
Public Works Director wages, and any overtime has been charged to the overtime line.
okay. Perfect, thank you. That's,
Why the overtime one?
It's overtime, it's overtime. So I
It's
can
my
make,
salary.
there's an option to make an adjustment, because the transition,
Are you separating mechanical versus public works, or you just public works all and then overtime?
that's correct.
All right, I'm good with that.
My next question is, when will we review the highway department budget again? Because the last time we talked about it, we're gonna go back, you're gonna do some changes or not. And we were gonna get a final, and we never discussed the final.
Right.
Because I assume the public works director would like to be there when we rake through it
Of course,
again.
absolutely.
Right?
So when will that be?
I-
I'm just concerned because it's gonna be January next time we're here.
Remarkably so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Chief waiting for us downstairs?
I say Christmas Eve at Tim's house.
Did you not?
I
he
can
wasn't
tell you, I'm
done.
running as fast as I can in front of the freight train. But it doesn't look good right now.
You want me to run out and derail it?
So, but I will be happy to forward on, once Kevin and I go through it one more time along with Jeannie, and just make sure everything is represented the way we last left it, updating, the figures for year-to-date as well, so you can see everything. And so that, I would say that could be scheduled pretty soon. So, probably within, by
There's
the
no
second,
end to
so-
your wish lists for the public works encumbrances or anything like that?
No, however, I'm glad you asked that question, because there is an IT component that affects Public Works, which is the work order, fleet management, and building maintenance product. And I have worked very hard to get our best price on this. So just so that you know as well, we have evaluated 2 products. I didn't have the opportunity to look at the second product, but the product that I feel is going to be sufficient, we currently work with this company, is it's a module of iWorks. So we currently use that for permitting in land use. And this is normally $3,500 annual fee for the software, plus a $2,000 setup. And I've got them as long as we commit prior to the end of this year. We don't have to pay for it this year, but we would have to order it and sign for it. That in 2019, when we're ready to start implementing it, it would be at an annual cost of $2,000 from that point forward. So there are.
And what does it do?
So this is the, and Kevin, if you want to chime in at any point,
It makes it possible for me to log and keep track of everything that I have to do, from vehicle parts to supplies. Log and keep track of catch basins, maintenance, scheduled maintenance, the whole wide range of
Projects.
information, projects.
Time management?
Exactly, the whole thing.
and it also costs things as well. So when you're maintaining costs of hourly employees,
Generate reports.
He'll provide the project report. So if he sends 2 guys out with some materials to someplace, you'll be able to ask the question, well, how much did it cost to do that XYZ over on whatever street? And provided that we have those base rates, loaded in there, and the materials, that there'll be a report that shows, what all these things cost, so that when say, for instance, the sewer commission, if the sewer commission needs to make use of Public Works, or the Conservation Commission needs to make use of Public Works, or Parks Commission needs to make use of Public Works, we'll be able to give a cost as to what that was for the park.
My question, you love costs. You love tracking costs. But like what we look at, what residents look at is like, hey, I asked for that branch to be cut on Winter Street. And, at the end of my driveway is cut this.
I believe there is
The
an
Parks
aspect.
Commission wants to have the bricks painted again.
Yeah, so there are two pieces to this work order system. So one is scheduled things that you set up over time, and it will pop up when it's time to turn the water on at Riverfront Park, the third Wednesday of July,
Reminders.
things of that sort. And where you can build a work order service list for various buildings or things that have to be checked over time, and that will be incorporated into his weekly work schedule. But, he has to import it in, and he'll say, yes, we're going to do this, this, and this of this outstanding list. And from there, but there's also the ad hoc work requests where, somebody calls in here and says, gee, that limb is hanging awfully low on Winter Street. Somebody should look at that. And so someone else will enter that into the work order system, and it'll pop up on their system, as well as they have the ability to have it sent to phones. There's also a GIS mapping to show the locations of things. And in general, and I don't know if you recall the conversation that we had about the opportunity cost of not having something like this, is that we currently experience a cost of scheduling and setting a work schedule, monitoring a work schedule, and tracking costs. It's just it's all worked into his time, my time, other people's time. But there is an actual cost on all that, so that when a crew goes out to one location and they need to be sent somewhere else, or they need some other part, it's that kind of thing that this should help cut down on extra trips, extra travel, and help what is a very small but efficient crew.
What about reports to us?
Excuse me?
What about reports to us? Saying, hey, we've got this, really expensive program. Because we have another department that we spent a lot of money in another expensive program, and we haven't seen a product generated from that says, whoa, this is what it actually does.
Well,
I mean, we've seen tidbits of it, but we've asked for months for this finished product.
maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but I thought at that meeting, the planner did provide reports.
This could happen. These weren't, we understood that they really weren't accurate, up to date.
Once it was implemented, there have not been any.
Nothing implemented,
Haven't
right?
seen one since anyway.
Right. And there's only one in, 2 years?
So,
That I can't answer.
Can this program that you're suggesting
Yes.
give us quarterly even updates that say, hey, this is what this program that you spent so much money on is doing. This is what our public works department is doing. This is the manpower. This is what our equipment is. This is what they're doing, and all what you just rattled off to us, which I think is great. In a nice little summary from that, do that to us quarterly, that we could get that kind of a summary to us.
I know I can do it monthly, and there are.
Oh, well, monthly's
there
even
are-
better. I'm
there
kind
are
of spreading it out.
There are from and to dates for reporting, so
Okay.
I just don't know if there's a quarterly selection.
Well, I'm fine with
There's all kinds
monthly.
of-
I just was trying to give you a little bit more leeway and say quarterly.
Yeah, there's all kinds of.
Okay. It's just so that the information that we can get from you to us that says, this is what we've done, and this is where we're going, and this is how much we've accomplished.
Right, and it does have the ability to track inventory, so, on those items that are worthy of tracking inventory on,
Mhm.
more expensive parts or.
you asking us to buy that with 2018 money?
I actually am, because if you take that $2,000, you divide it by the 5 people within the department, that's $400 a year per person. And you take that divided by 2,080 hours in terms of, cost per hour per person. So when you look at really an infinitesimal amount for the potential effectiveness and organization, I think it's a really small price to pay. And keep in mind that if we go through a year of this and say, it was a great idea, it's not working for
So
us.
the total cost is
And we can
$2,000.
get out. Yeah, there's no setup fee. It's $2,000.
To buy?
we're licensing it.
Okay,
So-
goodbye.
Okay.
What's the maintenance? What will it cost us next year?
That's it. It will not exceed $2,000 per year.
Okay.
So moved.
That's the,
I just had a couple questions. You mentioned the two products. And are you just as happy with this as the other demonstration?
As long as I can log all my information, it doesn't matter.
Okay, and the pricing of the other one, were going to follow up with them?
Yes, and I didn't get any return information from them.
Okay,
As long as I
I
have
did try to
tech support,
contact
whether it be tech support or whichever.
okay.
um,
Well, at the end of the day, if you're the one using it, we need to make sure that
And
Kevin's,
We are,
Yeah.
there is no charge
I
for
agree
tech
with you.
support, and we have had very good support with their other products, so.
Is
Okay.
this- is
It's
this
just
a
as good as
Tim
the
trying to
information you put into it, so as long
push
as-
everybody over to Google
No,
kind of thing?
I hate
no,
this.
and
Seriously.
No,
So is there a program out there that he really wants, but you found a better, cheaper program?
well, I judge sales responsiveness as kind of an indicator of technical responsiveness.
Mhm.
And as the IT director, I couldn't get information from the company.
See,
So,
we have the same problem. We can't get information from you guys on the programs that you're buying to give us the information. So your technical support might be great in getting it running, but our technical support for receiving copies of these reports
I
is nil.
will make
So-
sure that and I'm sure Jeannie will as well, make sure the planner is aware of the need to provide periodic reports.
So without putting you on the spot in front of
Yeah.
the king of IT over there,
Yeah.
are you happy with that product?
Either product I'm gonna have to learn, so it makes no difference to me, as long as I have the tech support and I can log in my information so that I can generate my reports.
And you know where Tim lives
all
at midnight? Yeah,
You got a
okay.
big problem.
I'll second Pat's motion.
All right.
Okay, so we motion in a second to purchase the iWorks version for the amount of
$2,000.
$2,000. That was
That was a motion.
motion second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Yes, a discussion. All right.
Well, I can issue a purchase order.
When will you order this?
All those opposed? So moved. That was easy.
I'll be back.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
How long you have?
Mr. Chair, is it all set?
Yeah, you are. No, you're great. Thanks.
Thanks for fixing the car.
Anything
That
else
was
you need,
kind of
Tim?
funny. It was exciting.
It's Christmas, anything else you need?
I remember that.
Okay, next thing, we've got,
Tim?
we're pretty close. You're next. Or actually, yeah, you're next. Yeah, come on down. We have, police department report.
I kind of have an order because there's different members of the department helping me. So the first one I'm trying to get in is Sergeant Pinal to finish up his presentation on the 40, if that's okay, so that way he can get out.
On the what?
On the what?
On the rubber
On the 40?
rounds. Yeah.
That's what they call
I'm gonna vote no because the movies went away.
it. But he sent you new ones today.
Come on.
I watched them this morning about 1:30. I'm pretty sure it was not this morning when I got here, but it was at home. And I could see them, but this afternoon, all of a sudden, I couldn't see them, that they were.
I don't think this is a volunteer thing, is it?
It could be. So, a couple weeks ago.
Whose did we borrow?
Who's what?
Whose did we
Sales
borrow?
rep.
No, this is the, you can pass that. So that's the rubber round that we're talking about right there. It's on the same level of force as a taser.
Why are the movies unavailable to us now?
I'm not really quite sure, like, I watched them all this afternoon, so I'm not sure why. piece of that, but maybe, or YouTube.
I was just trying to be nice, because when I watched them, I was not so sold
Chief,
on it.
Chief, 45 minutes, you got.
Oh, do you want to take it?
That doesn't mean Luke has 45 minutes.
No.
All right,
I'm not
so,
volunteering for this.
When did we get in 45 minutes?
That's on the agenda.
Oh, well.
All right, folks, so I know that,
So I
I
should-
think it was last week, you guys, or maybe or a couple weeks ago, I first come to talk to you about the program. And then over the last few weeks, I sent out some numbers as well as the information regarding the systems. I just made a quick packet for you tonight for you to review. Did everyone have a chance to watch those videos? Okay.
I couldn't access it from my phone at work.
So basically, what I sent you was a group of a couple videos. First two were incidents where lethal force was used on a subject that the person may or may not could have been saved with a system such as this.
Is that the fellow in the hallway?
No, not those ones. These were the ones I sent out this morning. There was one that was actually
The one that was
from-
running up and down the road very weirdly?
that was
And then the fellow coming out of the house?
there. The first two that were sent, I believe, I have to look again. The first one was one that was a shooting here in New Hampshire of a distraught military veteran who ended up getting shot by police. The next one was another gentleman who I believe had either a knife or a screwdriver. I'm not sure what the end result of the investigation was. But again, a situation where lethal force was used on him. They attempted to use the tasers didn't work, and at that point they were in so close because the effective range of the tasers is limited that they were forced to use lethal force when he advanced on the parties, or the officers. The next couple ones were actual in-field use, one of which was right off Live PD, if any of you seen the TV show, where there was again a suicidal male that was reported to maybe have a firearm and a weapon. He jumped out of the vehicle and started to run. They were able to use it and take him into custody. Another one was a situation where a gentleman was called out of a residence. I can only assume that that was for some sort of domestic disturbance or something like that. So they had him come out, he didn't comply, then made him prove like he was going to go back into his house, and the 40 millimeter was used on him to gain compliance and take him into custody. And then there were just a few other informational ones. Some of them were from a news entity or an explanation of how the systems work. So I hope those videos were helpful. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. What I provided you today is just a printout of the spec sheet of the defense technology weapon for the launcher itself. The next page is just an explanation of the exact impact round. Belmont County was nice enough to let me, to let me bring one of these for you guys to take a look at and see. So as you can see, you have the casing. There's obviously the silver portion, has a primer in the bottom, so it's kind of, if you can essence it, you could think of it as a big shotgun shell. And then on the end, you have the foam sponge round that will be used. That's the projectile that will come out of the system and hopefully strike and gain compliance. Another example, I know there was some questions about shotgun rounds and stuff like that. This is a shotgun round that would be used, and was speaking to some tactics teams, one of which was Belmont County team. They've gone away from these, and part of the reason is if any of these ever tear up upon flight or anything like that, you're in essence shooting lead shot at someone, and you have a much bigger chance of injury if you hit a soft extremity in the face or something like that. And there's a lot of instances where there's a lot of injury from shotgun rounds. So that's why. What's that?
Dick Cheney?
No hunting. Again, so those are the two types of rounds, and obviously this is what we're projecting or proposing. And then the last few pages here is just a general policy that you would see for something like this. It's like any of our other policies, and it would mirror both state statutes for use of force as well as our baton policy for any of our weapon systems, whether it be a baton, OC spray, or taser, where this would fall within the force continuum as a tool for officers to use to gain compliance or take into custody anyone. And so just a quick brief definition of what the system is how it would be stored, which would be in the vehicles and so on and so forth. Any type of reporting, anytime we use any type of force, whether it's hand control to our tasers, to our OC spray, any of those situations, we fill out a use of force form that is then reviewed by the administration. So this would fall into the same category.
Where did you get this policy from?
So this is from the NTOA, National Tactical Officer Association. And it's a generic type thing. What we would do is if these were approved, then I would obviously import things that we would need, whether or not that's guidance from the chief and whatnot, as far as how it would be used, how we would decide to store it. You know, if you decided to keep them in a rack in the back or close to a box, that's why you do that, those things, once we figure out
How many of these units are currently used in agencies in New Hampshire today? How many?
To be honest with you,
How many agencies
I
are
don't
using them?
know how I figure that out without calling every single agency.
Well, how many do you know offhand are actually
Yeah, so-
using these units?
A lot of the cities are starting to adopt it. I know LAPD switched away from the beanbag rounds and went to these because when you fire this, the only thing that comes out is this big piece of rubber. And what we're seeing.
So Laconia has this unit up there now?
Laconia has a 40 millimeter, I don't know if it's a 40 millimeter or 37 millimeter, which is basically the same.
But they have the non-lethal?
They have non-lethal capabilities. Any tactical team would have these capabilities. I use them on the Central New Hampshire team, I use them on the Bell SWAT team. I'm not sure if these are on the DEA team that you operate on or not.
They have less.
So, you know, less lethals out there, every agency has less lethal licenses, what they would carry, whether it be a shotgun, a 40 millimeter. You know, some agencies just have a taser and that's it.
So,
Without calling every single agency, I mean, agencies that touch us, Franklin did have a shotgun, less lethal shotgun program, I don't know if they still do it or not. Funding was cut too, that's not a really don't.
You mean Safari Land can't give us a list of customers they have in New Hampshire that are currently using their product?
I did not ask that question. I mean, I could try to ask that question, without calling every agency around and asking, but,
You know, which agencies are you currently servicing in the state?
And have you run this by our legal department?
I mean, that gentleman said.
so I mean, I made the prosecutor aware this is a fairly standard
I heard you say
equipment across the country
Mhm.
that's used to help save lives.
I suspect that you would be perusing it and see how it fits in for us, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I would, usually if there's a new policy, anytime that there's new equipment, it usually comes by my desk.
Yeah.
But after approval, of course,
Makes
by
sense,
by
right?
the board and things like that. So I know that Sergeant Pinal has talked to me about this and talked about things that he's presented to the board already as far as why agencies are moving towards something like this, rather than, we used to use like beanbags, like you talked about, but there's too many instances where those are being projected out and then flying through the air in a way that when they hit the people, it is actually causing serious injury and sometimes death based on the type of flight that they take. Whereas this type of non-lethal, we just haven't seen those types of injuries before, so.
I bet that hurts though.
Do we know what types of injuries are sustained by being hit by one of those?
So,
That's hard.
with going to the training, I mean, it's hard foam, so upon impact, it does have some give. So with one of the videos that I showed you, they used it on test subjects, and they would go back later. And I think there are other extended videos of the same thing, where they would go back and they have a little meter. So generally, any type of item like this blunt force trauma, you're gonna have bruising, but
Maybe a broken rib.
meaty portions of the body, you're just gonna end up dealing with bruising and stuff like that, like if you got hit by a baseball.
This is a last resort weapon, I would assume.
So, yes, it's an absolutely, it's a last resort if someone's not complying. it wouldn't be a last resort if they were projecting deadly force upon us.
Yeah.
But the ability to, one of the videos that I sent you guys, I believe it's from Calgary, up in Canada. And so they had a guy come out and he had a knife in his hand. He's like, how about I just come up and stab him? He started walking. Those officers had a reactionary gap of probably 25 to 30 yards. And they shot the guy with it. The guy went to the ground. There were 2 officers there, one being lethal force, one being less lethal to get into. So it's absolutely a great tool. I understand that there's an expense to it. There's a cost of doing business, and our ultimate goal is to save as many lives as we can. No officer ever wants to take a life, and so that's why.
So you advocate.
So the cost of one of these units with the cartridges is how much?
From the email that I sent out, so the weapon, I'm going to do a quick math in my head because I don't have the email in front of me, and I sent it to Tim when he brought it down here the other day. I believe it was a little over $1,000, like $1,080. So it was $800 for the gun. Simple mathematics. It was about 100 rounds, or $100 for the, I'm sorry, $75 for the rounds that it would take to have the weapon. And then it was going to be an additional about $140 or $145 for the weapons. So that puts it just over $1,000. And then that would be for each weapon, and then additional cost would be the training kit, which I believe is in the area of $250. And then I would like to have 3 rounds on hand for when one of these would ever be deployed, and could then replace it back into the next within the case.
Why, how many do you want?
The proposal that I put together was 4 weapon systems. So the 4 weapon systems would go into the 3 main line cars for patrol units, and then 1 would go into the supervisor vehicle.
But if the 3 main line cars are not used at all times, they're not, could you get away with just 2 instead of 4?
I think 2, I couldn't say that because if somebody's tied up on another call, and one of those cars is running without one, you might not have access to it. Generally, we have anywhere from 3 to 4 people working in the patrol division. That's not including as well as our administrative personnel. If there was ever an incident at the school or anything like that, they would need this. So I think 4 is a fair assessment. At a minimum, I would say you would need 3 to be able to get running. With the funds that I put together, I believe I was only asking for an extra $1,444. I think was the final number that I gave last week.
He has $4,512.95.
Is that a printout of the email? Oh, is that the original quote?
This is December 13th, 2018. That's the motion he would have had us made. I move we authorize to
When was that?
LMT Tactical 4mm launchers, training kit, and impact sponge rounds not to exceed 4512.95.
So,
As described in the quote dated 8/9/2018.
4,500.
So we have a
So-
motion, could we
That's
have a
not my
second?
motion. I was reading what his motion was.
if you want me to go through,
That was his proposed
this is the
motion.
email that I sent out. I did all the math behind it. So we currently show $4,355 and change in our weapons expense and $436 in our pistol range fees. That is a total of $4,791.82. Listed below are the minimum ammunition needs that I would need to replace duty ammunition, as we are allowed to replace all duty ammunition this fall. The 2,000 rounds of frangible ammunition for police standards and training. There was 1,000 rounds there of handgun ammunition, and then 1,000 rounds of duty rifle ammunition, for a total of $1,850. The total cost regarding the 40mm program was $4,384.85. This is $128.50 less than the quote provided, as I am removing a few of the duty rounds which should not be needed. So I ended up taking some of those rounds out in order to save money. with doing the math and figuring out how it would be carried, I figured that 3 rounds per weapon and then 3 rounds in spare would be sufficient. Each rifle setup would cost $1,015.90. That would include the rifle, the duty rounds, and weapon sight. 4 weapon systems would cost $4,063.60 to outfit the full complement. Also needed would be the 50-shot training kit at $243.75, and 3 replacement rounds at $25.70 each, or $77.10 for a total of 320 rounds. So both costs of ammo needs $1,850, and the 40 mil program $4,384 equals $6,234.45. This is a difference of $1,442.63 from the current balance of the 2 line items listed above. It will be my request to acquire these funds for another year from the remaining budget to fully fund and put in place the 40 millimeter program. So I could send all those numbers, or
So-
obviously I just shared them with you, but
Right.
So what was the final number?
So
the difference right now from the monies that are in those 2 line items is $1,442.60. I'm not a mathematician, so don't.
But you're asking for a total of 6,000 some odd dollars from us to spend out of that line. You're asking us for $4,384.88.
Providing there's no other ammunition or anything bought, which I thought you're gonna be, there's still some of that, correct?
So there would be $1,850 in ammunition, $4,384.35.
He's saying that handgun ammunition has nothing to do with the launches.
The handgun ammunition is under your purview. You buy that under your budget, which is the end of the year budget, so you have authority to purchase that.
What I'm looking to do is use some of the funds that are in the handgun expenditure line items to help offset the cost of the system.
So you're
I would be
asking for,
asking for an additional $1,442.63 in order to outfit the 4 launcher system.
but it doesn't work that way. You're asking for $4,384, most of which will be taken out of the ammunition line,
Well, it's a weapons expense.
weapons expense line,
And officers' wages.
and officer wage line, out of the police budget. Let's just say out of the police budget
Okay.
at the end of the year, 2018 budget.
So with all these figures.
So we need to
I'm not-
approve whether or not we want you to have that.
I guess if you
What
want
is
to,
the-
if you want to clean up the muddy water. I'm
Just
looking
tell
for-
me
I'm
what
looking
the
for-
total is for the cost of this new system. Don't worry about where it's coming from or any.
$4,384.45.
So that's
is the
less
cost-
than
is-
what's Tim's projected.
Because of those additional rounds.
Right.
I would then be asking to use the remaining
Is there
funds.
any reason why we didn't get all of this information prior to this meeting in writing, all these numbers? This is the end of the year.
I sent
This is
this
a
out.
so important
I-
thing.
He sent it
I
out.
sent this out last week.
You got it out?
Yeah, you emailed it to the board.
I'm sorry,
Last week.
43.
I sent this item out to Tim because Tim said he was going to come down and present it to you.
So you sent it to Tim, but you didn't send it to us.
Or me.
I sent it to Tim and the chief.
Well, Tim had it in his report. From what date was that report? Last week?
From you guys, that might be my fault, and maybe I misunderstood.
So the amount that he's asking is within what Tim proposed on December 13th.
It's
He
for-
wanted not to exceed 4,512.95, and you're 4,3 something. You're less than 4,400.
Oh, 4,400.
So we're still
And then
within
when,
what Tim
yeah,
proposed.
absolutely. And so, and then when you look at the brass tacks of where everything's hitting, it's actually $1,843 more than was currently available within the weapons expense.
Tim already identified where we could take $4,512.95 just for this product.
Can,
What is-
can
what is-
somebody show me where Tim's letter is?
You
I
might,
don't have
you
that.
might still have it in your folder from his
This is-
report last
This is
week.
This is December 13th.
I don't have it in
Was
my
that the
folder.
week you
Did
were
you
here?
get it?
That's what
Did
you
you
should
do it
run here.
electronic, too?
Is it board? That
Right,
Tim,
but if she-
Tim did advise me that Selectman Monsignor wasn't here, she wasn't feeling well, and that they were gonna wait till the fall. Is it board or? What is the,
Board of Selectmen, Tilton,
Board of Selectmen.
Wait a minute, Gail, it might be on the left.
Well, we're on break.
Board
Let's
of
leave the
Selectmen
weapons.
at
There's
Tilton
money in the
Beach.
budget, therefore no
Yep.
need to raise and appropriate the funds next year. Discussion of the weapon system will be tabled and the matter be brought up to the chief at a later date. From last week's
So
minutes.
5 years from now, we'll have to expend $375 for the 3 rounds for each gun and the 3 spare, correct? That says 5 years on it.
Oh, you mean the replacement?
All the frontline rubber bullets get replaced in 5 years. They may go into practice, but
Right.
Can I just read somebody's, is somebody still have Tim's?
They don't take it apart, hand that down to Pat.
These don't have.
down on the bottom.
So this might, what I will say is that I talked to a rep and he stated that they do not have an expiration. I don't know if this is an older,
Says right on it.
Thank you.
okay, I don't know if this is an older round and maybe that they've come out with, in the last couple of years that they've changed, I'm not sure.
It also says right here, they're warranted 5 years from date of manufacture.
What's warranted?
The bullet.
Oh,
But that's a general policy. Oh, there you go.
the launcher's only 2 years.
I know, it's like, okay, so we could have bullets hanging around for 4 years, but the gun itself is like garbage.
So, Chief, why can't you get some of this under Homeland Security or Homeland Grant?
Yeah, these,
Thank you.
yeah, these wouldn't be covered. Anything that's either ammunition, whether it's less lethal or not, can't be covered. Matter of fact, we were putting a training together for departments around the state, and they kicked back the grant application. It was an application of all the departments around the state, because there was ammunition in the grant.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to keep my head.
I have some questions, but Joe's been trying to ask them before me.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Joe.
okay.
This is a less than lethal system. We already have a less than lethal system. And I was wondering if this is to supplement that, replace that.
So it would be an additional tool that could be used in, would expand our ability to use less lethal to a greater distance. So I think the first time I came down, I explained and I talked about, in fact, would it bother any of you for me to pull my taser out? Is that going to upset anyone?
Might give me flashbacks, but.
So the taser, and it's really quick to show you, and I'll do this, usually don't want to, but see how close the dots are right now? So as the taser goes out, for every, and don't quote me, I'm not a taser instructor, but I believe it's every 7 feet is 1 foot of spread. So you can estimate at a distance like this, and you went to tase someone, and now you look at the distance as far as the dots and how far apart they are, is that you
I mean,
you get to a
those
certain,
dots are where they're gonna hit?
that is estimated in
It gets
there.
That could be real critical.
It gets wider and wider.
And so as those go out, the possibility of getting a good contact where you catch someone in the leg and catch someone in the torso starts to diminish. One of the videos that I did send you guys, you can't see it, was actually when they tried to use 2 tasers on the person. Neither took effect either because of the heavy clothing or something like that, and they ended up having to use lethal force. So the benefit to these, and actually one of the downfalls to this round, is that it can only be used outside of 21 feet, and then it goes out to about 60 feet, I think. This round here can be used at 5 feet, so this is something that you can use inside of a house, and then can go out to 100 feet. And so it
Bring
expands.
somebody down at 100 feet? And then what does
Those-
it do at
those
5
rocks.
feet?
Yeah, thank you.
So I believe the kinetic energy
Correct.
is there in order to transfer enough energy to gain from what this is. So this expands our ability and as well as our safety to keep that reactionary distance if we are attempting to call somebody out of the building, if they're going to hurt themselves or others, and then if they don't comply with our request, it can be used.
Approximately how often do you use your tasers? Let's say in a year or 6 months or a month? Just
I can say me personally, I think I've deployed 6 times.
in this year
No, it's in probably the last 6 years.
or, oh,
If we could get a printout of what calls for service actually stood for, we could look under that column,
That's true.
just saying.
They,
We've been trying to get IMC to put use of force data in there, and they haven't yet. That's the one piece. But, so, the reason we started this conversation is we're seeing a lot more officers having to deal with folks with mental illness. And behind the mental illness, we're starting to see nationally more and more of them being armed with either a knife or a gun. In a lot of cases, for whatever reason, they want to hurt themselves. And we're seeing more and more shootings nationally of people suffering from mental illness that we wish we could have resolved less lethal, rather than having to deploy lethal force. I reviewed a couple of shootings in New Hampshire where if they had this tool available to them, it could have had a different outcome for the person. The shootings, because they're armed, are going to come back good. But just because they come back good doesn't mean we want them to do them. And unfortunately, no officer wants to take a life, especially someone who might be a veteran suffering from mental illness. And in some cases, the officers end up pensioning off within a couple of years of getting on the job. They carry those scars for years. And we just don't want to put officers through that if we don't have to. And, you know, I sit on a board, a committee for the ICP, Patrol and Tactics Committee, and we talk about this all the time, and with the uptick in mental illness and armed mental illness calls, is leaders have to come up with different tools for officers to deal with this. If someone has a gun to their head and you tase them, they're going to shoot themselves. If you hit them, it's just a fact. If they have a knife to their own throat, they're going to harm themselves if you tase them. If you hit them with a rubber round, you're going to save their life. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do.
Involved.
Yeah.
I'm still holding the knife.
Yeah, I mean, the impact forces you to drop what you're holding, and we have been using them for years in special operations, but we just believe we got to give officers tools, because if the suspect is attempting to harm themselves, or they're going to try and approach the officer with a knife in their hand, and because of distance or a heavy jacket, the officer can't use a taser, we want to give them another tool other than their handgun to use. And so we, in the committees that I sit on, we passionately believe the time is now to give them an alternative. And these rubber rounds have been working for special operations for years to save people's lives, because even teams don't want to take a life if we don't have to. And so that's why we started to talk about this. And I've used beanbags myself on other departments, and they never worked. And I was frustrated. And I said, you know what, I'll never use them again. I fired 8 rounds at a guy with beanbags, and he just looked at me. He was high on PCP and kept going. Even if he's high on PCP with these, he's dropping. And
So when this was proposed to us last week, it was 4 units, one of which would be for the detectives. Would that be a weapon that you would need, or can you foresee in the future that it would be good for you to have?
So it's a great weapon. I mean, I think if we needed it, if we were doing a search warrant house or anything like that, I mean, I think the frontline cruisers are the ones that are gonna have those. I mean, this is something that I would say, hey, Luke, we're doing a search warrant a house, I'd like to take one of them. I don't foresee us needing our own,
Okay.
our own.
They would have access to it just like
We
the
just have
chief, the
access.
captain, the
I
sergeant
don't
would have
think we need
access. If they had to grab one and go to a, so everyone would have
I think
access.
you had mentioned 3 could work. If we're trying to calm it down a little bit, but we just want to make sure if the on-duty officers in court, and all of a sudden something like that breaks out, that we can get one there to the scene as quickly as possible sometimes, because, you know, if it can take 5 or 7 minutes to get across town, things can unfold and go downhill quickly within a minute or 2. So we talked about that, and I said, do you want to put 2 out there? And he said, ideally, I'd like to have one in each of the frontline towers. So that's how we got to believe. And then,
What about the bicycles? One on those?
How much is,
From your station
how
to
much is the training
McDonald's, what's faster, the
per
rail trail or
officer?
Route 3?
So training, this is something that more than likely we would be able to achieve on duty. It would be something that we could do.
Just go out
Just like we do it, yeah, just like we do with our tasers, just like we do with firearms, just like we do with any of our use of force class. Every year we're required to do a use of force classroom. This is something that if approved, once they came in, I could use our 4-hour mandatory use of force classroom that we do every year to implement this product.
You could do it as part of that class we're already doing.
Joe, if you want, you can test the one that's stand about 130 feet.
Only with a bulletproof vest, I think. Those things are gonna hurt.
Ted, did you bring more questions?
I need hurt.
I still don't have that other one that really, I really would love to know how many other agencies in New Hampshire are actually using these. You said one is Laconia.
I know that this department is right now with a transitioning, Nashville, Merrimack, I believe Lebanon. Some of the departments that are part of NHWA have been saying they're
NH what?
NHWA, New Hampshire Tax Force Association. Some of the
Well,
departments.
that's tactical, I mean, Tilton's not.
No, we also talk about patrol stuff. And so, when we talk about tactics and use of force, we talk about it for both patrol and special operations. I know that there's a lot of departments right now in the process of transitioning. Portsmouth used beanbags on an individual with a knife and it didn't work at all. And I know they're frustrated. So the thing is, you know, if all it takes is one incident, and I can review one, I can talk about one, but I don't know the town that probably wish they happened. So.
I have a question. Now, can you explain again why we have this extra money left over in the budget that we're not going to use? But last year, when you guys came in the budget, we went over the weapons expense. Catherine criticized it a lot. Is that exactly what you need? Can you cut that
I
back?
haven't purchased ammunition this year. I was on until I found out certain things as far as now that the reason why the ammo order hasn't gone in is because I was waiting to hear from the academy if they were going to require French ammunition. The next thing is they are now required. French ammunition starting January 1 is twice as expensive as standard ball practice ammunition. It's even more expensive than DP ammunition.
So why aren't we buying that from the?
We are, that's in my proposed budget that with all the numbers.
You have until December 31st to purchase it out of this budget.
I know, that's what I think is nice.
So next year, would we be able to deduct this from our budget, that amount?
I need to replace the ammunition, so this year I was able to get officers down to the police academy in order to use the simulator, which saves the ammunition funds. It's not a guarantee that we can do that. So the simulator is, you walk into it, it's a 320-degree environment where you have a weapon that cycles on air, so we were able to save funding. So
Plus you use the Franklin range all year.
we use the Franklin range outdoor to try to save money because all this, if you look at the original quotes, it started back in August. But I started talking to the rep before that. So we were able to find savings in order to try to put this together.
So you're asking us to expend money we've already raised and appropriated for a less lethal system,
Out of the weapons expenditure.
and it's also out of wages.
The extra 1,440.
He's identified officer wages and the weapon expense line. So I'm all for less lethal. You know I hate your hollow points. And you want 4, because if one's down, you have 3. But you only have, how many, you only have what, 2 front lines out during a shift?
No, generally there's 2 patrolmen and a supervisor.
That's right.
I think
And then one additional is that if it's at a swing time during the day, more access to administrative personnel. to the officers.
Captain, sergeant, the detectives, if the officer said, hey, I'm in the house and I can't go out to my car and get it, can someone come with one? Then either me or Nate Hopkins or the captain could fly over there with them. You know what I mean? Because if you're tied up in the house and all of a sudden it goes south and you can't get out to your car to get it,
Yeah, well, just look at
can you wait a minute? I'll be right back.
Hold
So,
that pose.
yeah, so he does make sense.
I'll move that they're purchasing this year.
Do you want to read that motion, Catherine? I move we authorize finance director to issue a purchase order and cover the funds to purchase the LMT tactical 40mm launchers, training kit, and impact sponge rounds not to exceed $4,512.95. Is that
Second.
enough?
Or Catherine can move
As
it.
described in the quote dated 8/9/2018.
Second again.
So the $4,512.95 is
I
sufficient
moved
to
it and then
purchase
you
it.
just moved it.
Well, she had the figures
No,
and
she
stuff.
just, they wanted me to read the motion.
It'll be $129 less, but I appreciate it.
Okay.
It's not for me, it's for the
Motion
guys.
and seconded. Motion by
And a
Pat,
second.
seconded.
Aye.
Any further discussion?
Can I get rid of the hollow points if I vote yes?
Thank you.
Yes.
My only, I don't like the last meeting of the year, I can't see approving anything for spending this year. I would do it next year, but I'm going to vote no, not because they disapprove it, but I don't agree with coming in
Last minute.
with nothing that I can put in front of me and read, and asking me to spend $4,000, $5,000 at 7 o'clock at night, it's the last meeting of the year. I can't, but, so we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 And I'm the no, but I agree with the
Let
weapon.
the record show.
Just-
And why?
I just gotta do that, I swear.
Thank you.
Is there a weapon in that bag?
There is.
Oh,
Can I
let's see.
actually see it?
Can we keep moving?
Yeah.
You
Sure.
can move
Make
it.
them look while you're talking.
So the next thing,
Do you have a report, chief, or are we
So we're
going,
about to take a question.
we're going into non-public?
That's windier than I thought.
Before he goes into non-public, I have a public question. Can you please explain what happened to the 17A?
That's the one where someone hit the rear door. That was back a while ago.
Did we get a report on that?
No?
Everything's already been filed with each
I-
other.
That's not the question, Gail.
Oh, I thought you meant like an.
Time out,
I-
that's not the
I-
question. Thank you. Chief, the last accident with the police department, we said mandatory that every single accident that happens with the police department, that we would receive a written report from the chief. If there was an accident with a cruiser, we said there would be a report from you to the Board of Selectmen saying that this is what happened. Now we have $6,000 some odd dollar, $7,000, $8,400 bill to repair the 17A, and we don't know anything about it or how it happened or anything, but it went through insurance companies and it went through everything else with all that, and we don't know the details of what happened. So
Who's at fault?
that should come through the chief to the Board of Selectmen, not the chief to the administration downstairs. It should come from the chief to the Board of Selectmen.
Didn't we also say that?
We said that was a memo to you almost a year ago.
Wasn't supposed to be investigated?
So briefly, what happened? I have no clue.
Right.
A plow truck slid out of a driveway.
Can you say it to the mic so we
Yeah,
can?
a plow truck slid out of a driveway on West Main Street, and it was on a midnight shift during a snowstorm. And one of my officers was traveling down West Main Street, and all of a sudden, a plow hit the back of his vehicle, which was the 17A. So, you know, he was just driving down
He
the
was just
road.
innocently driving down the road, somebody rammed him.
So the
Yeah.
other
And- and
people were involved.
Did we have a deductible?
Yes.
One question, because Pat said, what was your question?
My same question was, do we have a deductible?
So,
The insurance company agreed to cover everything, including the deductible, so there's no out-of-pocket cost for us.
Whose insurance?
The party's insurance,
Okay.
yeah,
They pay
not
us.
us.
Theirs, not ours.
Because here's my point on accident. If someone hits us, I don't want us paying $1,000 deductible. So I made it really clear that the insurance company covers everything, including deductible.
It's not,
I don't want.
it's not quite right. I just want to.
Did you hear back from them?
Yeah, so there was a breakdown in communication, and I'm not sure where that happened. When that accident was reported to me, I filed it with Primex and got them all the paperwork they needed to, proceed. They sent a check to us somehow, and I don't know, someone was communicating with State Farm and directed State Farm to send the check to AutoServe directly. Didn't go to AutoServe, it went to the PD. Our check had already come from Primex. So Primex had planned to go follow up with State Farm. And so there was quite a bit of a mix-up that we've tried to straighten out, but at the end of the day, I think you've got, $450 for the decals, which have not been covered yet. The expense, we're gonna be short, and I have followed up with Primex to get them to go back to State Farm to get that remainder, to see if they can make us whole.
So my understanding, when this accident occurred, all the information was not turned over to the administrator, that someone within the PD tried to process this accident? Is that what I'm hearing?
Something happened.
Yeah, I know we didn't contact Primex, I contacted.
No. Somebody.
So somebody at the PD should
Yeah.
not have contacted any insurance company.
Right.
That accident should have been reported to the town administrator.
Which it
and
was.
Immediately.
Completely taken care
No,
of.
it wasn't, according
All
to the town
reported.
administrator.
Everything was sent to me, and
Mhm.
I processed it. But someone, and I don't know who that someone was in communication directly with State Farm and directed State Farm to send the check to,
Can we find out who?
So it doesn't happen again.
well, and I
That's
have
the
had that
point.
conversation. I don't, at this point, I don't care what happened in the past. What I care about is in the future. So
Right,
let's,
exactly.
right, so let's just, from now on, let's just make sure that there's no it is handled in our office.
Yeah, I thought it all was. I know that the decals were gonna be part of the total cost from AutoServe. So AutoServe was gonna pay
They had
half the decals.
yeah, but they had a different number, and it was a much lower number than the number that came from the sign shop.
So, this cannot happen again. If there's any incident, if there's any type of claim, accident, liability, it has to be 100% handled by the town administrator.
And the town administrator is to notify us that there has been an accident, and usually Joyce puts it in a folder for us with the actual report and what happened and so on and so forth, so we can see that.
But I'm talking about even workman comp's
Yeah.
claims. Any type of
Anything.
claim has to go
We
through
should
the
know
town
that.
administrator's office, so these things don't happen.
Is there a
The
video
police
of it?
department often acts as its own individual satellite agency.
Supposed to be.
There is a video.
It's gotta stop.
You
Not
guys-
activated his muscle.
Yeah, activated.
Yeah, the
Okay.
captain reviewed it.
I activated after the accident, didn't they?
It goes back 30 seconds, so the first 30 seconds is no audio,
Good job.
and you see the truck slide down the driveway and strike his cruiser. The officer then got out, engages the person in conversation.
So, just
The person,
to,
hey, sorry, man, I'll slide on the ice, I didn't mean to hit you.
That's what they call them, accidents.
Go ahead, Jean.
so just to be clear, going forward, our office will handle all the accidents. Now, what I heard you say a few minutes ago, Pat, what I heard you say a few minutes ago is that the chief is supposed to write a report to the select board, and you want...
Chief notifies the select board that there's been an accident, whether that's through you or directly to
Okay.
us. In his report,
It should go to the
it,
town administrator.
it should go to, it should come to us.
Yep.
And we shouldn't hear it through this, in a check given to the insurance company.
And I put it in my police report that week before.
It needs to go.
Yeah, and I called Jeannie first.
And we should,
We get to see an
and
accident
Jeannie,
report.
we should see the accident
We can
report,
get
the
that.
details, everything in an envelope
Yep.
that comes into the FYI file. That should, all of that should come into us, and we should read it. And that way, if we have any questions when he comes in, or if we have any questions, we say, can you please get this information from the chief, and then you've got it.
Sure.
And that's, for future.
Everybody understands we're good.
Yep. But I'm good on it.
So next up, I'll try to keep us moving. Sergeant Buffington, he just wanted to brief the board, so over the period of a couple of board meetings, I gave the board an update that he was trying to bring on a part-time officer and processing a background check on one of our applicants. And so over the period of a couple of meetings, I said eventually they'll complete that and we'll come back because what we'd like to do is add one part-time officer. Right now we're at 2 and 3 years, 5, so with the 2 that we have, they do the best they can, but they're not always available. And so Sergeant Buffington completed the whole process with him and just wanted to give the board an update on that, where we're at. And the next part-time academy is coming up in February, so we wanted to make sure we got to the board in time to give you guys an update so that if we do get the approval to move on in, that we would be able to file this paperwork and get it into the part-time academy. So,
So
Can
this
we do this
person,
in non-public?
this person isn't an officer somewhere already. We're
No,
gonna pay
no,
for
no.
this person to become a,
yes, so I guess, I think that would be a
Non-public.
do we have to go into the nitty gritties?
Yeah, I want to know.
Like,
If they're
who is
asking
it?
to approve the
Well,
hire.
I don't care what the name is and where they
Anything
live.
that's.
But if they're we're going to ask about the hire.
If I give you like a background summary, I'm probably gonna have to.
Right,
Okay.
That's going to be,
yeah.
For
You're
a
gonna know
part-time
everything.
officer, Okay.
Make a motion, we go into, oh, go ahead, John, you want to make them,
you don't remember?
sort of, kind
Want to try it? Go for it.
of, motion, we go into non-public for RSA 91A:3, paragraph 2A, compensation, hiring of personnel, or disciplinary action.
Investigation
Or we're
charge.
not doing discipline, it's
Second.
compensation, yeah.
That's
Hiring.
good. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Dawson, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Constantino, yes.
Hog, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
What happened to our order there?
We are red is on. I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session
She was ready to.
as they pertain to personnel matters
And he's gonna be
permanently.
coming in earlier than what's expected. Would you just remind
Second.
him? It's still like that.
We have a motion and a second. Seal the minutes. Firmly as they take personnel matters.
Yeah, he was
All
ready.
those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. Okay, so we're still here with Chief Cormier and
He must have
the other
had to because I said.
questions or
Yes.
topics.
Enlighten me, Route 3 traffic lights, are some of those ours and some the state?
No?
They're all state?
Yeah.
Okay. In the past, haven't we asked the officers at night to let us know of lights not working? Well, I got a message today from someone who saw the News 9 article, and this person commutes home 12:30 to 1 at night, and on Route 3 there's at least 20 lights out. I noticed one tonight directly across the street from the PD. So, if we're looking to improve visibility, it would help if the PD would help participate and let us know when the lights are out.
We asked them several times over the years.
The other thing, if you're concerned about slowing traffic down, if we did a little parking traffic detail downtown, have the cruisers parked there, see people walking, people will take notice and slow down. But we never have time to ever do any parking. So you get vanity plates in the same spot for 8 to 10 hours a day.
I want to talk to DOT because I know they shut a lot of the lights off. We got that notice a few years ago. It was a lot, like 25 or 30 lights.
We met with them after they sent that notice out. Catherine and I actually went down with them, with the, Mylar, whatever, the map.
Yeah, with Concord.
And we went over every light all the way up the main street, and we said, no, you're not shutting this one off, this one, no, no, no. And we gave considerable reason why not to. Some we sent to you to write a letter, which you did. And so there shouldn't be any reason why they're off. If they're off, they're out of the bulk scope. Yeah, all the way up to Mosquito Bridge. We did. All the way up to Mosquito Bridge.
I thought they were going to shut those off.
No, there was some they were gonna shut off, but not all of them. No, there was only one that they said
I
that they
think
were.
when we were done, there was maybe a handful. And they were in odd places, a couple of them were where there was another light right down the street.
So should I have Eversource check and see if bulbs are out or if it's a light problem or?
Yeah.
Just let them know that this pole, the light's not functioning.
If you call them, if they are called, if they are called and you report such and such a pole light out, they will be able to tell you if it's one that, that's one that New Hampshire DOT shut off.
Yeah.
So if it isn't one that they shut off and it's out, then Eversource will go out and they'll figure out which one, whether it's a bulb or, just a few years back with a program where they converted a lot of them over.
I don't know why they don't change all those old sodium vapor lights to LED or something brighter.
They were changing them out a couple years ago.
They
Like all the
started,
street lights, the old sodium vapor ones, like a lot of towns now are going to LED.
when they changed it back in court, they changed it to an LED.
Sodium vapor, the ones that make noises, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because what we see is like these old orange sodium vapor lights, if you're walking in the street with black clothing on, it's awful.
They're much more expensive than the LEDs too. I mean, the electricity costs and what have you.
So I would think,
So Chief, I saw you on the news, and I had gotten these estimates, talking with First Impressions, back in November. Thought you might be interested in them. Those are lighted pedestrian crossing lights. They're not the $100,000 lights. I think they're like $4,000 or $5,000.
I love these ones.
And they sit, so when the pedestrian's gonna cross, they actually push a button and activate them. These are solar. And then
And
one
the
of them,
price isn't too bad.
I didn't think so. One of them, the lights go flashing around it, and I think the little person is the sign. There's a couple of them, because I thought those might be helpful for you.
I've seen those.
I can print out more for this.
And a semi-completely unrelated matter, the iWorks proposal that we voted for earlier for the Department of Public Works only has one line for signature. I would like at this time to make a motion to authorize the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to sign in for us for this agreement.
Second.
We have a motion second to authorize the chairman of the board, selectmen, to authorize and sign the iWorks agreement. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
I'm an aye. Jeannie, could you send town administrative report
Um,
in the email, or you just printed it?
I printed it. Are you?
Careful when you jump up. You may lose something.
Um, I have no idea. Don't idea if they're gonna
So like the fourth bullet.
Where are we at? Are we still with the chief?
No, the chairman is signing the iWorks.
Oh, okay.
Jeannie wants to know if we're on the
That's-
town administrative report yet. So she wants to know where we're at on our agenda.
So I just had two other issues under the police department chief. You were going to give a written recommendation on Chestnut Street. Did you do that? Did you have that conversation with the selectmen?
We haven't, I did do it, but we haven't made a conversation.
Okay. And then I have something on my list for car use policy. Was that something that we were discussing tonight?
Which policy?
Oh,
Car use
yeah.
The
policy.
number of cars that are going home, one's going all the way to Thornton.
You're gonna take a look at,
So we talked to Chris, and so right now, he's just taking his POV. So he's not, there are no cars going home to Portland. And,
so you changed that policy
We did,
with the
yeah.
detective.
yeah,
Okay.
so that's been, and I do have Chestnut Street down, but I don't know if you want to start that.
So it's the captain and
We
the
can
sergeant
schedule it.
two that takes their vehicles home,
Yeah.
and the detective. Name.
One.
Right, okay.
Thank you, Chief. I was like, oh,
That's what I was talking about, is this kind of stuff. I think it works. You know,
Yeah.
get your attention.
well, it was funny because the conversation I had with, I don't know if it was schools or not, was they were looking for it specifically for that in the crosswalk at Tilton Diner because it's used so heavily at night, especially at night.
Right,
To get out of work at this time of year. In the summer, it doesn't get dark until 9:30.
Last night we were in here talking about lighting. That was a discussion. James was sitting on it, and we were talking about how to improve the lighting downtown. And talking about this stuff. So it was coincidental that it was at the same time. It's just tough, you know. I feel so good at the lights. I think don't help much.
Those are really, there's videos on those sites you can see, and they're amazing.
These things are incredible, right?
They are.
When you press it, and it's all by solar.
Yeah. I think the electrics are a little bit cheaper, but those are so good.
You done with
Anything
that?
else?
We'll wait for Jeannie's.
I would talk to Bill
Oh,
Rollins
am I
and
up?
see if there's any money
Yeah.
they would
Good
contribute.
choice, all right. I think we're all set with the chief.
Okay. Thanks, chief.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it.
All right. I'm up. So you all have a copy of my report. First action item is the animal confinement contract with Birch Hill Kennels. The amount, the renewal amount remains the same at $5,500. There was a change in that they removed ferrets, from the contract. I asked Mike Carpenter why that was, and he said they just haven't had issues with Barrett's, but if you wanted him to put it back into the contract, he'd be fine with that.
Yes, so as health officer, the reason it's in the contract, because I was the one that helped write this, is because of rabies.
Okay,
So cats, dogs, and ferrets.
okay,
Rabies and ferrets, I think, are required by law to have a rabies shot.
okay. So we won't sign this contract. It does expire December 31st, but,
They'll want it.
yep. So, and then the only other change was, it was $18 a day, and it went up $2, $20 a day in the contract for,
Well, can you change it and then just ask the board to come in and sign it before the 31st?
yes, yep.
Okay.
What I'll do is I'll ask him tomorrow to make that change, send it back, and
Yeah.
if it'll all be here for you to sign.
Better come in and sign it.
You know,
anyway.
tell them it may never happen, but the lightning bolt strikes.
Okay. The Riverwalk with Calvin at the New Hampshire DES, January 3rd or the 4th, and I wanted to find out who would like to attend and what time would you, I know Joe would like to, but is there anyone else?
It depends, AOB,
What day is it?
so
Third is
I
fourth.
probably won't make it.
It's,
A weekday,
that's,
probably.
that's, yeah, it's Thursday or Friday.
Either way, whichever is more convenient for the individual involved.
He's wide open, so
Okay.
what do you?
I would rather do it Friday because I have my lovely granddaughter on Thursday and I
Okay.
don't like to miss.
Okay, so you want to do Friday morning?
That would be perfect.
Okay. What's 10 o'clock good for you?
Sure.
All right.
If that works out and I'm available, I'd like to join. So I'm covering somebody that's out sick. If they're back, I'll join.
Okay, great.
Those reports are so extensive, I don't need to be done.
You already saw and signed the letter for Counselor Kenny. That was a request of Pat, a thank you letter for his service.
Yeah.
Received a call from Chuck Roberts, the Winnisquam, he's the neighbor to the Winnisquam Market. I'm sure you all must be familiar with this.
Yeah.
He wanted the selectmen to authorize the placement of a no parking sign at the entrance to his property. Now, I think Catherine,
Isn't that the right of way, Catherine?
yeah, Catherine's been involved in this. I guess you went down there today?
Larry came to me because he had to come in for a permit to put up a sign, a fence. So,
Mr. Roberts?
right.
Yes.
So what he has done is he's put up a boundary fence to eliminate that, so there's the right of way, and then there's his property, and he's put that on the boundary. There's some concerns there, and I won't go into the details of it, it's kind of a work in progress, if you would. I went down there as health officer because emergency vehicles, visiting nurse, whatever, have to be able to get in. And at one point it narrows so much. Deputy Chief Tim Jubert is gonna go down tomorrow and look because of,
It's got big
if a fire truck can't get in there, and I got a feeling there's one section where it's narrowed, and what they're gonna hit on this side is the gas line into the bulk market. So the fire truck won't
So
get
between the
down.
market and the guy's fence, there's not enough room to get a single fire truck?
There's a new fence.
It narrows, so the
I haven't seen the
fence,
new
New
fence.
fence goes
so the
right down
building
the
is here, and when the fence goes down, it comes in like this, and at one point it narrows. So for me, it's questionable, will a fire truck get in there? Will a fuel delivery truck get in there? I don't think so, especially if we have a lot of snow, absolutely
Whose fence
not.
is it?
Chuck Roberts. So at this point, I'm guessing you will not authorize a no parking sign until this gets resolved.
Well, my question is, if he wants to put a no parking sign up at his property, he can put it on his property.
So,
But we shouldn't be authorizing a
Well,
no
the-
parking sign.
so this is how it was generated. He called me and he said that he had spoken to the police department and asked them about a sign, and they had recommended to him that the town place the sign because then the police would have the authority to enforce that.
Yeah.
and he
But
came to me because
Isn't
of
the
that.
sign going on
Or
the
us.
right-of-way for the people out back and not the town property, Catherine?
Well, he wants a no parking sign at the entrance of his property.
Mm-hmm.
So does he want no parking on his property? Or does he want no parking on the town's property?
In
that
front of
might
his property.
Block his theoretic entrance.
Right.
Well, my understanding was, from talking to him, that it was that people were parking there and blocking the entrance to his.
So he wants no parking on his property, so
No, I think he wanted it on the town so that they wouldn't block
block
his.
his
People
property.
parking on town property. I'd like to hear a report
Could he
from a police officer that's
Could you
actually gone down there and
specifically provide
observed.
us with a drawing, sketch with
That's it.
measurements and what he's looking for?
Did we ever, excuse me, wasn't something done before it was paved?
We striped it
Did
or
not
something.
block.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wasn't there
Yeah.
something?
But that was for, I thought that
Yes,
was for the
you're right.
right of way.
you're right.
Yeah,
Yes.
That was for the right of
Yes.
way.
That's why
You're absolutely right.
we really need to know what he's
Okay.
specific.
Yes, let him come in sometime in April. Well, we're busy up until then, I'm sorry. Our agenda is chock-a-block full.
In September.
Chief, maybe you could go down and see exactly what he wants and make it make sense.
But yeah, anything that you can do in writing, put measurements or stuff like that, or.
Can you email me his contact info?
Yes, yep. He did
I'm
already
concerned about
talk
that
to
fence though. What is that
That's
fence?
my concern.
Go
It's that
down and
fence.
look. If you go down before it snows, you'll see on the ground, there is some fence up, and there's enough width there. But you'll see these white marks, which he's delineated as his boundary. And then you'll see these red dots. The red dots, I'm assuming, is where posts are going to go.
Do we have any
He got a
say in
bill,
that right away of that road back there?
only as far, and that was what Daria was asking me, so only as far as a health officer is concerned. Again, emergency vehicles.
Yeah,
I can't have somebody call up and say, I can't get delivery of oil because the truck can't get in here.
Private road and the guy up the way
I
has
think
blocked
it's
it
a,
off.
why this is a civil thing, and then,
Yeah.
as
No.
you were saying, the butters, the
People
real
out back may
road,
have rights,
they have rights to use that.
as part of the right-of-way.
Well, there is civil, but again, as far as health and fire emergency vehicles,
Yeah.
they have to be able to get back there,
Mhm.
regardless of where, and there
Or-
is very
or what-
specific
or what
laws.
happens if people lose their,
There's very specific
Occupancy
laws
permit.
on the books as it pertains to boundary fences. So if you're gonna put up a boundary fence, there's a communication that has to take place between you and the persons whose boundary you abut.
yep.
and is that a civil thing, or does that involve the town
That's
getting
state,
involved?
that's not anything for us to enforce.
Okay.
I just told, Daria and I talked about it, and the way it was left is if one of the butters wants city information, he'll provide them with that,
Mhm.
but walk away.
Sounds iffy to me, but I'll go look,
Just take a
see what
look,
I
because
say. yeah.
I don't think this is gonna go quietly into that good night.
No.
So, next.
Next, we received a letter today from Chuck, Chuck Mitchell, Conservation Commission, asking the selectmen to encumber some funds to, he received an estimate from Paul Rushlow, an arborist, and he would like the town, the selectmen, to encumber funds so that they can use that to remove brush and small trees.
So moved.
So I have a motion, so I guess that's good.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I'll second it for discussion.
Okay. So what he was asking for here is proposed work estimate. There's a proposed work estimate to include brush tree removal abutting Winnipesaukee River and US Route 3, cut and remove brush and small trees as directed by town officials or Conservation Commission member. All resulting brush to be chipped or moved on site. Proposed work to be done in the spring of 2019. The cost estimate is $1,200. And the funds would be encumbered out of the 2018 Conservation Commission funds, and once you approved that, or if you pass this motion, Tim will issue a PO to close the loop on this.
The purchase order isn't enough. There's no obligation to pay an estimate.
No, which is why he's recommending that he would issue the PO.
That's still not an obligation to pay. That just means we're authorizing monies to be spent for this project. There's no contractual
I
agreement
thought the
that,
municipal association said that the PO was enough to hold it over an encumbrance.
no, the PO is only part of it. So we can issue, so you can amend your motion to make this happen. But what has to happen is the PO is issued. And then somebody has to contract with this entity to actually do the work. Not an estimated proposal, a
Has to be
contractual
official.
agreement with the PO attached. The PO is
Got
the
it.
authorization from the selectmen.
Yes, that's right.
So you're not obligated to pay this.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
can say, no, never mind, we're not gonna take that estimate.
Right.
You see the difference?
I'll
So you
amend
can
my
make a
motion to
motion
include
to-
contracting with Paul Rushlow.
All right.
And I fully executed contract.
A fully executed contract
Before the 31st.
Yeah.
before December 31st, 2018. Yeah,
Somebody else could explain.
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Or, you know, actually, if we pass this motion, Tim could do the contractual agreement with Squires
Yeah,
Landscaping.
yeah, do the PO and the contract in there. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
What'd you get for being so tired? Was there a second?
I think Joe
There was
seconded
I
it.
seconded it.
So, all in
Okay.
favor?
And after all this, I still second it.
Discussion?
What's the tree they're taking down?
Trees and brush.
All the brush.
Shrubbery.
Scrub.
He's doing on Erie property what I
I know.
propose to do along the road.
No, what's wrong with having working around here?
We've been
You
here
gotta
too
shut these
long.
fans off, they've never been cleaned.
Okay, so, you have a motion in the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm going to pass out for you to take a look at. 1, 2, 3, 4. A draft employee survey. It's not something you need to look at now. You can take it and mark it up, cross out questions you don't like, add questions you think you might like. Tim worked with me on it a bit as well, so I had mentioned this to you all during my discussion about my goals for the next 5 months was to issue an employee survey. So this is the first step in getting you to look at it, approve it, and then we'll get it out there.
This is
Thank you.
anonymous, right?
What's that? It will be anonymous. Yes.
It's pretty good.
If we can encourage comments, because Likert scales tell me next to nothing, really. You know, where you have the comment lines, as you
Yes.
say, I would just put in a little comment, we urge you to put comments.
Yes. Okay. And there will be a line on the bottom somewhere that this is confidential. All right. And the rest of my report is just FYI, that first bullet, just to bring you up to date. There is something else I would like to talk to you about. Unfortunately, I think we probably have to go into non-public. It's about acquisition. Sorry.
If you do, I have I think a personnel non-public to discuss too. It's either that or.
Before we do that, can we do
Why don't we do the rest of the public?
selectmen's meetings for
Let's do
selectmen's?
the rest of the public, and then they can get with non-public.
Perfect.
I'm gonna take these things out of
Two
my hair.
things. Cookies.
Okay, so, I'm not sure if you have anything, but I just want to let everybody know that I was given a copy of the wetlands permit application for an expedited permit for the expansion of the man-made pond up at the golf course. They were previously approved to extend or expand it a little bit, but they're going to expand it a little bit more. They're not creating a dam. There already is a dam there. They're just sort of scooping some of the stuff out. They're not altering the stream bed. There's drawings, prints, everything. It's going down to DES. Let's take a look. And the Conservation Commission reviewed it the other night and got all the proper answers for what they're going to do with everything they dig out of there, invasive species, where the water's coming from, going to, type stuff. So there's that, and I'm going to refrain from anything else.
I have two.
Go ahead, Pat.
All right, two quickies. The senior center floor continues to be just a small issue. It's just an FYI. When they jacked up the floor and tried, it's going to be a continuous thing, I guess, until probably the spring, because they're going to continue to make it level. However, when they jacked it up, the cabinets are now like, they're like this. They're really skewed badly. So he came and looked at them and he said, well, I can't do anything right now because the floor is going to continue to be jacked up. And then once it's finished, he's going to recommend that he take them off and reset them and re-shim them. And then Lowe's can come in and give us the floor that they're going to donate. So just for an FYI, in case you hear that the cabinets are coming off the floor. The other thing that I wanted to let the Board of Selectmen know that one of our very valuable assets to the town of Tilton has left Community Action Program. Well, actually, two very valuable assets. Joan Barretto, the Assistant Director for Community Action, has left Community Action Program. Sad. She's going within the next couple of weeks. And I just found out yesterday that Gail Lyman left after 20-some odd years of service.
Wow, I'm surprised.
I'm very surprised, but she was an incredible resource to the town of Tilton.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure what's happening at Community Action Program, but I'll keep our
Does
eyes
seem
open
odd.
and ears and eyes open. That's it.
Somebody probably stole her away.
That's not the case, but let's keep going.
I got one thing. I noticed that the disabled on the island was unlit on the way in, where it is lit, really is lit. The disabled was unlit. So, right.
I think it was lit the other night.
Yeah, I went this
Is there
morning
a
at 5
timer
o'clock,
set
it was lit.
I have an
Yeah,
answer
but
for that.
The resident.
Timer needs to be adjusted, and the light on the far end by the empty pedestal is, the bulb is blown out, and the other one over by the, where we used to have the fake camera.
The camera.
Disregard that, folks.
The timers aren't synced.
So there's 250 watt bulbs blown out, and the timer needs a little tweaking.
that was my.
Does it travel?
No, I got a little bit to do.
Did you have something?
I had one more quick
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask the board, we have an executive meeting coming up next week at the senior center, but there is a huge issue right now because during all the contracting and everything else that's gone on throughout the years in the senior center, I think there are more keys out there than we know of, and I want to reset our code to specific people and rekey the senior center, and I want to make sure we have permission to do that.
Works for me.
I think it's a good idea.
Wasn't that just done? Didn't we
No.
just go out and do that?
What?
Reset the key, the code at senior center?
Yeah.
No, they didn't reset the code, it was just,
Adding a code
And,
for somebody?
They added me and they added Kevin.
they added a name to the existing code. I want to change the codes, and I want specific codes. I want CAP to have a code, executive committee to have a code, cleaning to have a code.
They still
Well, you
have-
know who went
Makes
in there.
sense.
They still have my code in there.
I know,
I
I haven't
don't,
been in there for
I don't think so.
years.
We just updated that.
10 years we've had the same codes, but different people, and it's,
Well, I'm fine with it, you can determine whether
Yeah.
it's done
Okay.
it or
Absolutely.
not, but
I
if
gave
it
my
hasn't,
feedback
go
a
for
long
it.
time.
yeah,
Obviously,
it
it's already
needs,
been
it needs to
done
be
by
done,
the
and we'll determine that on Wednesday, Thursday when we meet, but
That's
that's
what-
permission.
Which the reservation for Sunday came in and got a key today. I gave her a key.
Yeah. And that's what brought the issue up.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Well, I thought you all said you could give her one.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
I was alone in that decision.
We made an executive
No.
decision.
I did. Chairman made the decision.
To just
I'm done.
an FYI, you may want to consider, they can use the same hardware and you can switch over the panel, which you can change all your own as you wish. And it would be cheaper than having somebody come out. every
So why don't you
time
get us a
approach.
price on that?
You would have to talk to the alarm company.
Okay, I'll call him.
Decide.
What's the name of it? Text me the name when you go in tomorrow.
You're funny.
Seriously, text me the
Let's
name
get
when you go in tomorrow.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna fall asleep or we're gonna kill each other. I don't know. What's going on here?
I'm getting hungry and I have a headache. What else would you like
It's
to
just
know?
a headache.
And my feet are wet.
So, you are next. If you
Catherine, one of these days,
I have been cutting this list for 3-4 weeks.
You just
okay?
lost one item.
So-
Keep talking, you lose a second.
Yeah,
You
here you go.
Let's get
True
it.
green accident claim, how are we working on that? Where's it going?
Nowhere.
Is it going, or is it?
Well, I need to follow up with Jim Cropsey on that.
Okay.
It's been in my to-do list.
Okay.
The last email I got was from True Green because I submitted the invoice for the fencing,
Okay,
and they wanted to know if we had any more invoices.
what
So,
about the wall? Yeah.
right,
the
that's
big
why I say I need to
Okay.
follow up. So,
Do you want to deal with the town car tonight or wait until we meet again?
Make it a detail car.
Make it, go ahead.
keep it as a
Say
town
it
car,
was-
keep it
I think
exactly the
to
same
keep
way
it
it
as
is.
a town car, but my problem is I want equity. Everybody needs to be treated the same. If we're gonna have a town car, everybody uses the town car. We don't make special exceptions for people and pay them stipends for mileage.
I
We
agree,
have a
but we
car
have people that
available.
are absolutely refusing to use it, so how can you make them use it?
We have a
That's
policy.
their choice. We have a policy.
We have a policy, can we follow the policy until we amend that?
So, well, no, we have someone on the books that gets a stipend. That's the inequity.
Is-
who's,
So
I'm
the other
building
inequity is
inspector,
that we have somebody that's
Oh.
using their own car and we pay the person for the mileage.
I think
We
that's
paid
just
them for
what you said.
mileage because the car was unavailable.
No,
Yes.
because we changed that recently.
All right,
And
then let's
last-
bring this up at our next
I
meeting and
agree.
put it to bed.
Yep.
So if anybody
On
needs
the
any more
agenda.
information, get it, and then we'll talk about it.
Got it.
But for now, I agree with John, let's just keep,
I
it's
agree
cheaper
with
to
you
use.
on that
Keep the
one too.
policy going forward.
And,
so you want to, just so I'm clear, we want to continue using the town car, so we want it back in the parking lot?
Yeah.
it's
Oh, it's back, okay.
So, okay, and then we'll clean it up when we meet again. And this is one
I'm good
that's,
with that.
so insurance coverage while in town business in your own personal vehicle. Can we find out what our policy is, what that is with the insurance company, what that policy is
Yes,
for our next meeting?
yes.
And you're working on closing town hall for inclement weather, because pretty soon we're gonna start getting some.
No, we're not.
What?
The policy for closing town
Yes,
hall during.
yes.
Okay.
State emergency.
You know, I used to close it when the governor
Right,
That's a state
that's
emergency.
what I
No
used to do too.
unnecessary driving, I
Right.
guess.
Okay, so we're gonna sit that up.
So, why do we have minutes from the police building study committee? I was going to get caught up, and the last minutes are like January 15th, 2018.
I think it's a matter of Tim putting it
I'm not talking about on the website. I don't want to watch the movie, I want to read the minutes.
on. Right,
Well, the minutes aren't on our website.
They should be,
they should be, because we've got
They're
them.
not,
okay.
which means, I don't know where they are, and the town clerk doesn't seem to have them because I asked her.
Tim?
Those are supposed to be available 5 days
Town
after the
clerk is
meeting as a
keeper
draft
minutes,
at
right?
least.
There's lots of them out there, Jeannie.
What's that?
Are there?
Yeah,
What?
she do them?
oh yeah,
But
we've
the
approved them at every meeting.
video,
Oh,
Catherine, the minutes to the police building study committee are up to date.
where are they?
And each one, we approve them at each meeting.
They have,
They should be in your folder with Joyce, all the past
They
minutes. If
have-
you can just look at the dates, make a copy, give them to Cindy, and a copy to Tim to put on the website, that's what she's looking for. In each meeting, that's what happens. You give a copy to Cindy and a copy to Tim. Jeannie's not aware that that's what happens.
I think she is because it's in her policy. I think
Jeannie's
it was just
policy.
it wasn't done pre-Jeannie.
So we'll get
So,
that
all right,
straightened
Joyce-
out.
Joyce never did that.
We know what it is.
We need to clarify this
You need that little
$1,500 no three bid and what it means. We need to clarify, we changed our bid policy, so if it's over, so now, if it's under $1,500, they don't need three bids.
Aha,
I thought it was.
Correct.
what's
Okay. So we have to clarify, what does that mean? Does that mean that they can just automatically go out and purchase something?
according to what you just said, yeah.
Well, I don't know, I don't
No,
remember the discussion.
It means we don't
We
No.
don't need three
We
bids.
don't require three bids.
We don't require three bids, we still need the approval of the Board of Selectmen to go out and purchase something that's,
About what amount?
Above
Yes, that's our
Any amount.
policy.
4750?
yes, that's our policy.
Any amount, it's just over 1,500,
So
you need
if you
three bids.
remember, they would come in with three bids for anything over $500. We'd have a conversation about the purchasing of it, which one we purchased, boom.
Right,
The only thing we changed is, if it's under $1,500, you don't need the three bids. We didn't say,
Right.
you don't have to come in and discuss the
Right.
So what's the
$1,500
cutoff?
purchase.
somebody made that
If they buy a
decision.
bottle of
One person, so it doesn't get too confused.
Right.
It's probably, without going to the history, does everybody know what the answer to this is, or?
Yes,
So we'll,
it's $500,
We can clear
anything
it over
over
the next meeting. We
$500.
Next meeting.
We can get information, we can look at the minutes. blah, blah,
okay,
blah.
so we're gonna figure that out for next meeting. And Gail?
That's,
As of September 28, 2017, any expenditures made in an amount of $1,500 or more shall be made competitive bidding from at least three sources. Bids shall be submitted to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen will have sole authority for selection and final approval. This change increased the bid threshold from $500 to $1,500 and became effective September 21st, 2017. Copies of quotations and estimates shall continue to be maintained as part of the public record. The Board would also like to remind everyone that only the selectmen can enter into contracts or agreements that legally bind the town or obligate the expenditure of town funds.
so any amount.
Therefore, we ask that you continue to strictly adhere to the current policy regarding approval for all contracts and agreements. All contracts and/or agreements shall be submitted to the Board of Selectmen, be approved and signed by a majority of the Board of Selectmen during the Selectmen's meeting.
Right,
so that,
so the original agreement of $500, the expenditure of $500 or more, the policy, I should say, agreement, policy of $500 or more, the approval of the Board of Selectmen, if I want to go out and buy new decals for all the town trucks, $500 or more, I want the approval of the Board of Selectmen. However, if I want to purchase a piece of equipment for $1,500, I don't need to get, above $1,500, I need to get three bids. Under $1,500, I don't have to get three resource
I don't
bids.
think you have to have an approval in there, let's,
Yeah,
if it's in the
at
budget.
the very end.
So let's have this discussion at our next meeting, it's not a time breaker, I just wanted to bring it up because it was confusing to me, so let's discuss it and maybe we could have copies of that.
Unfortunately.
I just, I just want clarification,
Yeah,
so nobody gets thrown under the bus.
Was there something particular that triggered that?
No, but it's not necessary to go into that. I'm good.
So,
I
so,
kicked out more that I left off.
Peter, do you have anything?
I had requested a non-public.
Oh, yeah.
Peter requested non-public. So let's, and then it's going to
And
be
someone else I thought had one.
I
One
do.
at the end, right? Okay.
acquisition.
A,
Yeah,
acquisition.
yes, no, it's personnel and it may be reputation, depending which way you want to go.
Okay, we're going to go into non-public for RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, matters which you've discussed in public would likely adverse the reputation of a person other than a member of the body, the agency itself. Unless such person requests an open meeting, this exemption shall extend to any application for assistance, tax abatement, waiver of fee, fine, or levy based on ineligibility, a property. So I'm not gonna read the whole thing off.
No.
Constantino, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Dawson, yeah.
Oh, yes, I'm trying to go alphabetical.
I know, I was.
Red is on. I would like to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they pertain to personnel and reputation, permanent.
Second.
So motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Oh,
Aye.
aye. And now?
No, wait. I'd like to take the opportunity to wish all of our town staff, employees, and town residents and volunteers a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. See you all next year.
Yes, because we don't have a meeting on the 22nd.
'Cause there's
Motion
no
to
need-
adjourn.
Second.
Vote with your feet.
Oh, because that's it.
That's an aye here from Mr. Jessman.